what a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach is as Flat as the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Henrik86, Liam Nedrick, Owen Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rekia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Alexander Main, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by quite a few people in Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them while I set up for today's live show.
Did I just hear what I heard?
Yep. Michelle Thaler, NASA scientist and communicator.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
Okay then, Michelle Thaler.
She's a bright stock.
Be taken two ways. Bit of duping delight. She knows how stupid it all is and she's laughing at you. Or she's as dumb as one of those rocks.
Well, if her cousins are rocks, her name should be Sandy instead of Michelle. What a nutcase. Remember that time video I said that was out with all the astrophysicists, and she was on it as well. I put a comment there. I think Flatso, you put a comment there, remember? On that time video?
Yeah, I had it up on screen.
Yeah, and my comment at the end said, and that crazy woman at the end. This validates that last statement of mine. My goodness.
Was that the video where they took several, like, normie and a scientist and teacher or something like that, and just basically sat there and with upward inflections attempted to brainwash them into, or coerce them into acceptance of reification? Is that the same clip?
No, that was the one before we shared. This one was on time alone. Let me go back on Master B and tell you where it's at, and then the one you're referring.
Don't worry, if we've already covered it, don't dig it out. It's fine.
Yeah, we covered it already. Anyway, I thought nothing could get crazier yesterday within 24 hours, but this recording definitely got crazier than yesterday's show within 24 hours. That's awesome. These people are nuts. Who could sit there and listen to this woman?
I don't even know who she is. I have no idea. If you guys present this stuff to me, I laugh at it in isolation. I'm almost certain that even with extended context, it wouldn't make the slightest bit of difference to how stupid they sound. But like I say, you present this stuff. I don't know who Michelle Thaler is. I have no idea.
I think Chocolate knows a little bit more. But when Chocolate comes on, he knows a little more. She said a lot of crazy things according to what Chocolate sort of say. But this got to be ranking the top 3 right here.
I think it's that thing big that made her so popular.
Well, back to yesterday's
show. The same one that says it's not okay to think the Earth is flat.
Yeah, that's subtle, but I mean, there's some crazy words coming out of this woman's mouth. I can't wait till Chocolate gets on and we'll see what he remembers. But back to yesterday's show. My goodness, with the antecedent and satellites TV, was it? something like that.
God, don't remind me. They're ball of Tourette's, man.
It was
You don't get it.
appalling. It was appalling. I mean, it's like they can't defend their position without committing a fallacy or beg the question.
Yeah, he spent
Just
10 or
can't.
15 minutes.
That's just dumb.
Spent 10 or 15 minutes refusing to cite anything and saying it was unimportant when we were trying to clarify the words he's used. And when we finally get there, it just reiterates every point that we've highlighted to him about how orbits begs the question, and it's there right in his citation.
Yeah. Hey, I posted some pictures about the SATA balloons, just to give a different viewpoint on what satellites are claimed to be. So it's just above Master B, where you posted the show. Do you see them?
They haven't come through yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, refresh. I think Flatzoid already seen them.
On Ballbusters, presumably.
No, Master B.
They're not come through.
All right. Yeah, it's the ones that are all over the internet with the balloons taking up all types of satellite.
Oh, my bad. They're from
ones.
earlier. Sorry, I thought you meant you'd sent them just now. Sorry, I'll get them up on screen. This NASA silver.
Yeah, that starts
thing.
it off.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that starts it off. And if you go to the next one, you can see they've gotten a little bit more technical and upgraded their way instead of that big old, I don't know what that big first one may have been in the 60s or something. But then you flip through to the third picture. They got a crane holding it until the balloon is directly above it so they can release it. Then you go to the fourth picture. It shows a different angle of it with the balloon in the background. And look at those dishes. Look at those dishes behind them. And then you've got another one. What looks like somewhere in the Arctic or something. And then you got a few crashing down that pictures that people took pictures of. So combination of 4 pictures with a shoot, and then
Yeah, it didn't have.
And
Didn't
Here,
have.
the ISS has another leak.
Say again, Flatzoid.
Here, the ISS has a leak again.
What's happening?
It says that's a leak.
Is the gas filling the space?
Again.
Oh no!
Apparently, they don't know where the hole is.
Yeah, so it's
Hold
not.
Hold on. Sorry, they don't know where the hole is, but they know they've got a hole, presumably because they're losing their gas pressure to space by way of an entropy increase, right? In this fake place
Very
where they
slow,
definitely
yeah.
haven't got a leak, because the whole thing is a sham and claimed to be taking place in a fake place, a sky vacuum. So they've got to worry about a leak when we on Earth, well, we don't have to worry about that. We've got no containment around Earth to hold the gas pressure here, but we don't worry about it leaking off into space. But you go, what, quarter of an inch off a beach ball size version of this reification of a globe Earth, and suddenly you've got to worry all about space sucking out your air. All right, isn't that fascinating? Just more lies from liars about being in a fake place called space.
But that's not the worst of all. They just say it's going up slowly. I mean, if you have to take a vacuum and just get something and puncture it, it's immediately.
It's massive liars. And I think these lies are pitched at children.
Yeah, they are. So there are several issues that come up with these photographs. One is yesterday's caller, Ed Freeze. So he's thinking that satellites orbit, but begging the question of outer space and rotation of Earth and all that stuff, radius, which Black Swan destroyed, etc. So we got a problem here. Second, if you can send satellites into a region that doesn't exist with balloons, right? Because they'll claim that these are going there. Then why do you have to use rockets to have so much more expensive means to get them up there? So it's silly. And we know that the balloons don't go into the so-called area that the rockets supposedly go, that balloons can't go to. Third.
Not just that. Have you seen the size of them?
Yes. Third, then they'll say, well, how do we get reception then? Well, you're looking at it. If you got floating beacons that could stay up for an extended period of time. I remember reading about the Google patent and the Google plane that they had, the glider, that could stay up 5 years doing the same thing that these so-called satellites do. And you can just Google that one and see it. I posted that over a year ago on the show. So they got technology even bypassing this stuff. So there's your little antenna to get a feedback signal. Not outer space, not orbit, not begging the question of nothing.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, from my perspective, this is fascinating and a plausible explanation for certain communication styles that are claimed to be in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. But why would we need to have to explain this exactly? Are we claiming satellites prove something about a flat Earth?
Nope.
No, it's not up to us
anything.
I appreciate it, and I'm not decrying what you've done. Great. Same goes for Robert Bassano, exposing Sophia and this exact same topic, and everyone else. But there's no justifiable reason why we'd have to do this.
You're right when you're dealing with someone who knows how to critically think, right? And can get the words have meanings, and when you say the words you said, that's obvious, so let's move on. That's got to be false. But majority of people don't know how to critical think. Pictures help, and little breadcrumbs to show that, hey, look how they send your supposed satellites up. You always thought it was rockets, didn't you? Yeah. What's this balloon? I've never seen a balloon with a satellite, the baller will say. That's a normie. They say, yeah. So now, is this possible? Yeah, I guess you're right. Now you got me thinking. Now, if you get someone educated, they're going to say, all right, what's the argument? Satellites, therefore satellite TV and orbiting and all that? Well, it's not necessarily sufficient conditions for that. And you're begging the question, and you're assuming an orbit. You're assuming, first of all, you don't even have a radius for the place you call that something's orbiting. I mean, it's over.
Indeed. That makes me much happier. I like to talk about these subjects so long as we clarify that, don't take this interesting discussion about balloon satellites as somehow an argument point that you need to take on board, because it isn't. It's interesting, great. Where it was interesting, maybe to some, about how satellites were claimed to be put in orbit, that might interest some people. Likewise, balloon satellites floating around above us, over the flat plane. Very interesting. Not needed to assert anything or debunk anything, though. And their claim is about satellites. So the only reason this comes up is because they claim they've got satellites, and we can show that they can be on balloons as an alternative, although we don't need to, in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum called outer space. And they're not. We can debunk that. So they definitely utilise it, and we can offer, although we don't need to, an alternative explanation.
Yep.
But there is one huge problem. Why is there so much relay stations on the ground then?
Because space is fake. There's no orbiting satellites. That's why. We might have a few very, very, very low-tech, I think these are, balloon satellites. What's going to be the capability of this thing floating up there? I just don't think they're as advanced as people think they are.
And Nathan, I put up an article from a university on necessary and sufficient conditions. I think it'd be good for you to critique this with us. Let me know when it's up.
Yep, it's up.
All right. Pause me when you want me to pause. Necessary and sufficient conditions. The discussion of conditional claims requires us to think more about the meaning of the term condition. We've already said that if A, then B means that if we have A, then we know that B must follow. But then we also said that A, only if B, means that if we do not have B, then we will not have A. These two conditional claims, if A, then B, and A, only if B refer to two different kinds of conditions, necessary conditions and sufficient conditions. Necessary conditions. If we say that X is necessary condition for Y, we mean that if we don't have X, then we won't have Y. Or put differently, without X, you won't have Y. To say that X is a necessary condition for Y does not mean that X guarantees Y. Some examples will help here. Having gasoline in my car, I have gasoline engine, is a necessary condition for my car to start. Without gasoline, X, my car, Y, will not start. Of course, having gasoline in the car does not guarantee that my car will start. There are many other conditions needed for my car to start. I'll pause there for remarks before going.
So far, you've detailed all of the elements and aspects of two different, one fallacy, one logical consistency. So with that information, you can extrapolate out the two different logical arguments, one fallacious, one consistent. So the consistency would be modus tollens. So you've got the prerequisite of if A then B, but if you don't have B, then you couldn't have had A. So obviously the black swan formulation with modus tollens, your if A then B is if Earth is a sphere with the 3959 radius, then every distance to horizon, your B statement, yeah? That's if A then B. Mm-hmm. But if you can't have B, then you couldn't have had A, which is the logical consistency. Distance to horizon is in excess of 10 miles rather than 1.2 based on the geometry. Therefore, you couldn't have had Earth as a sphere. So that's that part of it. Also, affirming the consequent. If P then Q, Q therefore P. Well, that's if A then B. But taking the information that you've got there, you would flip that into a fallacy by saying, well, if I've got B, therefore I've got A. And they've explained that that isn't the case. So, yeah, although it's not detailing it as logical consistency and fallacy, maybe it goes on to do exactly that. So do you want to continue?
Yeah. The next one's concerning oxygen, and of course I could say atmosphere, so we have to go with it. Having oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere is a necessary condition for human life. Certainly having oxygen will not guarantee human life. There are many other conditions needed for human life other than oxygen in the atmosphere. Last example, being 18 years of age is a necessary condition for being able to buy cigarettes legally in North Carolina. Of course, being 18 does not guarantee that a person will buy cigarettes. There are many other conditions that lead to a person buying cigarettes than being 18 years of age. Now they move on to sufficient conditions. If we say that X is sufficient condition for Y, then we mean that if we have X, we know that Y must follow. In other words, X guarantees Y. Consider the following examples. Earning a total of 950 points, 95% in this critical thinking class is a sufficient condition for earning a final grade of A. If you have 950 points for the course, then it must follow that you will have a final grade of A. Pouring a gallon of freezing water on my sleeping daughter is sufficient to wake her up. If I pour the gallon of freezing water on her, then it is guaranteed that she will wake up. Rain pouring from the sky is sufficient condition for the ground to be wet. Please note that in none of these examples is the sufficient condition also a necessary condition. For example, it is not necessary to earn 950 points to earn A in this course. You can earn 920 points to earn an A. We cannot say that if you do not have 950 points, then you can't have an A. It is not necessary to pour a gallon of freezing water on my daughter to wake her up. A wrecking ball against the wall will do it as well. Last one. Similarly, it's not necessary for rain to be pouring from the sky for the ground to be wet. The sprinkler could be on as well.
Right. So in terms of asserting that you have to have an orbit in order to have a satellite, no. It gets even worse when the claim is that you have to have it to have satellite TV. And it's easily debunked by asserting, no, you can achieve the same thing with cable. Now, like with any example, there are going to be caveats, exceptions to the rule. So where in his example he says, well, if I pour water, she'll wake up. Not necessarily. What if she had passed away the night before? Then she wouldn't wake up. So obviously there's caveats. that you can expand these examples out. They're broad to make the example. Just in case anybody criticises and says, that's not true. Well, no, you're talking about broad, logical consistency. Yes, you can pull it apart.
When yesterday's... It's just pointing out logical, though.
Sorry?
They're just pointing out logical thinking, that's all.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to go through a whole list of caveats. If I pour water on my daughter, she will wake up. However, it's not necessary to pour water on my daughter to wake her up. Those two things are absolutely logical and consistent. Well, yes, you could sprinkle that with a whole load of, but if this, then that wouldn't occur. Well, yeah, if the world ended tomorrow, you wouldn't be pouring water anymore. So what? Do you need to list that? No.
Well, I'm going back to yesterday's call with Ed Fries, because when he used the word satellites, what's he saying? He's saying a lot of things that are not proven. Orbits, the spherical nature of the Earth, the rotation of the Earth. Hold on, I gotta clear my throat, sorry. Spherical nature of the Earth, the rotation of the Earth, the radius of the Earth. And so all of these things debunk. And when he says satellite, he's already begging the question that we're a sphere and all these things, and he can understand that.
The problem is that they are under the assumption that it's already proven beyond doubt. So therefore, if you're taking something that you consider an axiom, then it's going to be perfectly acceptable for you to just assert your axiom as your starting premise, i.e. beg the question. Now, when it's pointed out that that is assuming your outcome, you're not proving it, you're assuming it in your starting premise, they get very angry. Because in their mind, well, that's perfectly legit.
Well, it was a show I listened to where a caller said, the globe, and I mentioned this a couple of days ago, there are undeniable proofs for the globe. It was like, okay, I got a box of popcorn, go. Right? But there isn't. They just say it. And then when you ask them, it's all based in fallacy. It's all based in presupposition. Now, when we do something that's in math that they agree with, and we agree with them based on their globe model, right? The radius of the Earth, 3959, then you bring in the black swan, the number one killer. That kills every fallacy about Earth spinning, globe, everything, because obviously if it's physical, it can be measured. They said they measured it. They gave attention to 11th century Al-Biruni. They've been using those numbers from him and prior to him, Eratosthenes, Aristarchus, all those guys. So they're all agreeing that this is the reality of a physical rock called the Earth in the middle of nowhere, spinning and just having everything work out right. And they gave us the radius, they gave us the circumference, and we say, great, then this is really simple. We'll just go measure 1 foot above sea level, and Earth curve should start at 1.22 miles, and then we will all be globers. Earth curve didn't start at 1.22 miles. It's actually well over 10 miles, which means that the radius now of this rock is 264,000 miles as a radius, and puts it past the moon.
In their reified model that they're assuming in terms of the geometry based on the assumption of R giving them Venus to give them these distances. However, yes, if you then take that black swan observation and map it out with the physical assumption bias that the horizon's a physical sphere edge that they can take a dip angle measurement to, then yes, it would push the circumference out to the orbital path of the heliocentric based moon moving around Earth in a circle. Now, that huge giant sphere Earth is only achieved if you say, well, the horizon has moved because the Earth has got physically bigger. Obviously, that's not the case. It's a claim to be physical rock. It's not going to get pumped up like a balloon and get larger. Therefore, you can't take that bias and say, well, I'll just assume it's still physical. No. And the rebuttal demonstrates that, because what they tell us in rebuttal is, we don't see the geometric horizon. It's moved because of refraction. Now, the refraction they use in their globe geometry is terrestrial refraction, and that's based on R. So they still require the R value, and that would require it being measured. It's claimed to be measured by Al-Biruni, but they can't see it it can't be seen because of refraction, and the refraction they claim you can't see it because of is the very refraction that's based on the geometry they can no longer measure, leaving them with a paradox. You can't get around the fact that you need an R-based terrestrial refraction value, 7/6R, to move the horizon, a claim to be physical position to block boats and buildings, into a different non-physical position with the very radius that therefore cannot be measured. So you're left with a paradox. The model implodes upon itself. You can't assert physical geometry. You haven't got refraction because you haven't got R to move the horizon that's supposed to be physical to block boats and buildings. The entire thing collapses.
Well, don't forget, every angle measurement they make is just slope angles. It's not actual tangents to anything. It's just slope angles. So any measurement made isn't a curve in the first instance.
Yeah, it's the beginning of their presupposition. So they say they're taking a tangent measurement. Now, to the untrained ear, you might not realise that when you say a tangent, well, what's a tangent? It's a straight line intersecting a curve. So if you're drawing a line out to a horizon or some object that you're measuring in the distance that's going to drop towards the horizon with perspective, I might add, you can assume that the line to the object is straight, even though we're told that they're not straight. It's refracted according to their rebuttal to the black swan. You don't get to see a straight line. We don't see physical geometry, but they still apply a tangent to these measurements. But their tangent assumes that the surface beneath it is curved. That's the assumption. So are you drawing a tangent to the horizon, are you? Oh, right, so your assumption is there's a curve between me and that horizon that you're thinking is physical, and you're going to draw a straight line that we're simultaneously told cannot be done by globe heads. Refraction, refraction. Oh, so you can't draw a straight line tangent then? Paradox.
Well, what you just said there, their assumption is that the ground underneath them is curved. Well, that physical curve, based on the black swan and their model numbers of the 3959, has to be at 1.22 miles at a 1 foot observer height. So the assumption is exactly that. It's an assumption because it's not there.
There is no geometric horizon. It would be blatantly obvious. It would come and go as you raised and lowered in height. It wouldn't be an effect of foreshortening, i.e. perspective. It would simply be the physical blockage of an Earth curve obstruction, as they claim, with physical geometry, only to have it debunked with the black swan and say, no, the horizon's 10 miles away, beyond these oil rigs with their defined distances. Well, if it's beyond them, it can't be physical. And they agree. We don't see physical geometry. Well, how'd you get a tangent? How'd you draw a straight line to anything, ever? You can't! Game over, globe. It's all dead. It's dead in the water.
Sorry, Nathan, would you be able to answer a question for me with surveying?
Yeah?
Because it's something I like to point out to them a lot.
You want me to ask you a question?
It always stays the same vertical, correct?
Say again.
A plumb line always stays vertical, correct?
Plumb line, yeah. Yes, it is. You want me to ask you that?
So now, if you go to your different references on a globe, should that plumb line not change angles?
The way you're asking your question is going to require a lengthy answer. The process is the other way round in terms of order. So you move your position, and you reference by way of datum where you are. Now, a plumb line at that point will still be akin to your zenith. It'll be pointing straight down. But they would assume that that point is pointing at a different angle relative to anybody else who's on the same presupposed sphere. And that angle is pointing to the centre of the Earth based on the datum that they reference. So they would assume that if you move over 200 yards and do the same process, then the two aren't running parallel. But obviously, at each individual measurement, a plumb line's plumb. But their assumption is they're on a globe, and they reference a datum to get their zenith to a centre of a presupposed spherical.
But that's my whole point. And if they take the first measurement from the beginning till the last reference point, they would see they're all sitting plumb still. So yeah, they're just assuming that it's changing, like you said.
Yes.
So in other words, yeah, they're not measuring any curve.
In other words, I'll give you a segue to the
Their own
show.
math debunks themselves.
Yeah, it debunks itself. It implodes. Exactly, Flatzoid.
In other words, I'll give you a segue to start your show. Flatzoid, you're plumb right, and they're plumb wrong.
Boom, boom. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Paul Hall, Neil, Flatzoid, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, happy crazy Friday.
And Darwin.
Hey, happy Friday.
Hello. Happy Friday to everyone watching live. Happy Sunday if you're watching this on a re-up. Very good to have you all. Nice to have an enthusiastic Discord server. Excellent. Thanks.
By the way.
Your support is welcomed. Please share the show. Right, any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth, to block boats and buildings and such?
Not from my zenith or plumb line.
There's this imaginary one that keeps changing.
The math.
Depends which way you want to look at it, Tommy. Imaginary, if you're put in a corner and pointed out that it doesn't really exist. Real, if you need to assert that it's blocking boats and buildings in the distance.
Whatever suits them, whatever they're trying to prove.
Yeah, it depends what the mood is. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it only exists in the maths. It depends. Any evidence of
I'm just really curious how they get the transition so well every time from Earth-based realistic view, which is just camera work, into then warping the ball into a ball, the Earth into a ball. I mean, how do they do that every time so smoothly? Oh wait, they literally cut out scenes because there is not even 3D rendering of a singular shot like that. Anybody remember that? Notice that?
No 3D rendering of what?
Yeah, there is no singular animation like for a launch from ground up, and then until the Earth becomes a ball. There's not even animation of this.
I see.
They never do this. In games, they don't do this. In movies, they don't do this. It's always an Earth scene, and then a transit to like upper atmosphere scene, then transit to Earth is far away and a ball.
It's never difficult, Owen.
There's never a singular transition shot. Because people would see through it. They would see it's not real.
It's difficult to fake this stuff, Arwin. You know, give them a bit of slack. They're trying to reify a model here. What do you want?
I just wanted to point that out.
It would be better
Well,
if we
I
had
can
more
tell you one
realistic
thing.
lies, though, is I think your point. It'd be nicer if they were a bit more real.
Yeah, the problem is they
Tell you
can't
what.
really get it real because it only exists in the math, and that may work out mathematically, but the intuition, if you actually try to emulate it for the senses to interpret, the intuition will simply tell you that's not how things look. That's why they have to do a 3-step transition every time. And they can't do it in a singular shot because intuition of people, even basic people, will just tell them this is not real. This looks like a warp animation. How that transition from one side into another, it will just look fake to them intuitively.
They'll just say you're changing dimensions.
Yeah, moving into the 4th dimension, Arwin. Obviously.
What? We're always there. You just have to wake up to it.
Right, let's move on. Any evidence of axial rotation?
Nope.
Oh, helium balloons debunk that.
When's your balloon video going to be released with a bit more meat on it? Flat size.
What? You're gonna send a balloon up with meat?
He's done. No. He's released a video.
According to Figure It, Nathan, if the world's on a tilt and we're on some sort of actual rotation, and then we're going around in this elliptical orbit, how come the sun seems to go higher in the air? Is it? If we're on the same angle, we're on the same angle, right?
Hold on. There's 3 presuppositions you need me to swallow before I answer this, right? No, I'm not doing it. If the Earth's tilted, if it's a sphere, if it's rotating, then you want me to answer. Ask a globe head. Don't ask me. Why asking me?
That's a good point.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? Anybody?
Nope,
Well, this
not
is more
Earth-based
like
variety.
what Arvin was saying about it only exists in the math, but your senses and your intuition tell you you're not spinning. So in reality, you don't feel the motion or movement, but they're telling me I'm spinning.
I had a guy in the chat yesterday on the re-up on the Nathan Oakley channel. Subscribe today. You do get to see uncut and after shows maybe 36 hours after they go out to the members, so they still go out to the public. Anyway, I was in my re-up yesterday. There's a guy in there arguing Coriolis effect, and of course he goes to the usual, the plane doesn't need to worry about Coriolis effect, it corrects for it. So I'm like, okay, I'll get him to pin down on how they're correcting for it before I absolutely rip him a new one. So I was like, how do they correct for it? And he's like, well, it's done in the flight controls. So I'm like, this is a sight observation. It's based on your observation from a non-inertial spinning reference frame. So there's no actual deflection in the plane. What's it correcting for with the flight controls? Not actual deflection. But these retards, they literally think that they have to correct for it because it's not showing up in a plane. No, it's just not showing up in a plane because it isn't happening. Not because a plane can account for you observing something seem to drift from the ground with its engines. No, that's not how it works. Me looking up at a plane and going, yeah, wow, that looks like it's drifting. And the clever dick next to me goes, no, it's because we're turning underneath it. Do you remember Neil deGrasse Tyson explaining how the ball seems to drift? Well, it's not really drifting, it's just turning underneath it, right? That's why the plane seems to drift. It's not really drifting, though. It's going straight. You go, all right, so it's not actual drift. Yeah. So would the plane have to worry about us observing it seem to drift? No, it wouldn't, no, because it's not actually drifting. The plane wouldn't have to do a damn thing about it. All right, would it have to worry about the fact that we're turning underneath it, bringing continents to it quicker? Yeah, it'd have to worry about that, wouldn't it? Earth turning underneath it? But it doesn't. And the rebuttal for why it doesn't have to worry about it isn't because Earth obviously isn't turning. It's the flight controls can account for it. Oh, what? Ground control to Flight 374. We have a man on the ground observing you seem to drift. Please correct for this immediately with your Coriolis correction equipment. No, it's a not actual drift. They're not having to account for you look at it and have it seem to drift. It's not actual drift. No correction needed in the plane. Flight controls aren't going to do a damn thing about an observational effect that's not actual. Morons. You don't have Coriolis effect. Earth isn't turning under planes to make them seem to drift at 15 degrees an hour. If it did, flight times would be reduced when going west. Obviously they're not, because Earth obviously isn't turning underneath anything. Not turning underneath footballs like Neil deGrasse Tyson lies about. Not turning underneath munitions. as the claim to be snipers claim that they've got Earth turning underneath the bullet that they've got to correct for? Yeah, well, then it would turn underneath an aeroplane. And it does not. It would turn under a drone. And it does not. It would turn under a hot air balloon. And it doesn't. So we don't have Coriolis effect because Earth isn't turning.
Yeah, I don't think that guy understood Coriolis. I was keeping up with that yesterday, and that was very frustrating.
Yeah, my next video, still going to do that other more in depth, but my next video is going to be balloons in a car. Because it will not be seen in a moving car.
Yeah, like with the helium balloon moving forwards as the more dense air rushes back when you accelerate. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you saw the video I put in this morning. It showed that.
Yeah.
There were two balloons.
Sure.
You did a new video?
Relative density. No, not me. I'm going to do a video like that.
Okay.
But as a matter of fact, they just
Destined.
do relative density.
Smarter every day, I think it was. Anywho, they claim 15 degrees an hour. Go on, Flatsoid.
No, it was me. This is key. When you went through that nice summary there, you're pointing out how they are not understanding their own claim of Coriolis. Not actual deviation. They're always looking or reciting that they're in the projectile, like the plane or the bullet, rather than them on the ground looking at something. Can you go over that again? Maybe you might wake them up a second time with a nice summary on that.
Sure. Coriolis is observed because you're on a rotating platform. Like a roundabout, you're spinning on the roundabout. And what you're observing is something that's not on the roundabout seem to come towards you and seem to move away because you're turning underneath it. So, example 1. You on a roundabout lamppost is concreted into the ground but over your roundabout. And as you turn underneath the lamppost, which is definitely not moving, it seems to come towards you. That's Coriolis effect. Now, does the lamppost have to correct for me looking at it and seeming to come towards me? No, the lampost's concreted into the ground. It doesn't concern itself with me looking at it and going, wow, it looks like it's coming towards me. Oh, it's going away. Oh, look, it's coming towards me again. No, it's going away. That's Coriolis effect. And not actual deflection at the rate that you turn underneath something. So in the case of a globe Earth that's claimed to be spinning, they claim Earth turns underneath an inertial reference frame at 15 degrees an hour. Therefore, as per Neil deGrasse Tyson's claim, ball gets kicked, from the stands it looks like it curves, going through the goal, making the field goal because Earth turned underneath. That's their claim. Well, if Earth turns underneath a football after it leaves the roundabout equivalent in this example, the claim to be turning Earth, then anything that leaves the claim to be turning Earth has to demonstrate a 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth turns underneath, as exampled by the ball. Ball leaves ground, Earth turns under ball, ball goes through goal, because goal's moved under ball. Earth is claimed to be turning underneath the ball, therefore must be turning underneath an aeroplane for us to observe it seem to drift. Like on the roundabout with the lamppost, I look at the plane and go, oh, it looks like it's coming towards me. And your guy next to you goes, no, it's not. It's travelling straight and you're turning underneath it. Oh, so Earth is turning under the plane. The plane doesn't have to worry about it. It just looks like it's drifting from the ground. So they say. Now, when you point out that that would bring the continent that it's travelling to towards the plane as the ground moves under the plane, they say, no. The plane doesn't have to worry about it. It's got flight controls that account for Coriolis. What, account for me looking up at it, looking like it's drifting, because I'm turning underneath it? It'll account for that, will it? And I gave a humorous example. Ground control to flight 237. We have a man looking at you from the ground as he rotates underneath, and it looks like you're drifting. You're not, but you better account for it. Farcical. Obviously, planes don't need to account for this. What they would need to account for is Earth turning underneath them, changing where they're going in terms of the continent they're travelling to, coming to them. Now, do they actually have to account for that? Do they have shortened flight times when going west? Do you launch a drone and watch Earth rotate underneath it 15 degrees an hour? Oh no, my drone, it's drifting away from me. And your clever dick friend next to you goes, no, it's actually just hovering. And we're rotating underneath it. That's Coriolis effect. Does anybody ever experience this? No. Do hot air balloons go up in the air and then find that when they come back down, they're landing on a different continent because Earth rotated under them at 15 degrees an hour? No. This does not happen. And if it did, you wouldn't be accounting for it in the balloon because all Coriolis effect is you observing it while you rotate. Sod all to do with the balloon or the plane that you observe. It's everything to do with you turning underneath them. And that would bring continents to hot air balloons as they hover. And mean your drone drifts away from you at 15 degrees an hour. And flight times would be shortened when travelling west. As Earth rotates underneath them at 15 degrees an hour. It just doesn't. Earth is not rotating.
I put the speed into context because they seem to think it's a little bit.
No one's going to reply to you, Flat Sword. I'm hustling people off mute in Discord and they're there instead, it seems.
I thought I cut out or something. I just put into context. They say 15 degrees an hour. Do they know that's about 460 meters a second?
Yeah, it's ludicrous speed, isn't it? It's at the equator, 1,000 plus miles an hour.
To put into context, the Bloodhound, the fastest land vehicle ever, only does about 200 feet per second. The Bugatti Veyron only hits about 170 feet per second.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, the speeds they claim. Is this happening live, Paul? What have you got up? What's going on in your little thumbnail? Completely distracted.
Oh, that's the National Geographic thing talking about Coriolis effect.
Oh, okay. I was just about to move on from Coriolis effect. I'm really sorry, Paul. I don't want to put their video up anyway. It might get me a strike.
Sorry. Okay, I'll stop it.
That's okay. I thought it was like a home video or something, or you were filming it on your phone as you were chatting to us. Right. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Hey, Chocolate.
What's gravity?
Good morning.
If we had scientific evidence for it, it would be a lot easier to define.
Which gravity are you talking about? Because every day there's a new gravity on the block.
There's only one.
I don't mind so long as they give us scientific validity. Obviously, if they assert 105-year out-of-date nonsense, that'll get cast out immediately now. No, scientific.
Come on. I've never even seen a hypothesis for any gravity.
Not a hypothesis. No. I want scientific validity. I want validated scientific experimentation based on a hypothesis. I mean, we do ask any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics for a valid hypothesis. They won't give us that either. But in the case of gravity, which they absolutely assert as real, it's like their get out of jail free card that they think they've got when it's a conceptual medium being bent. No scientific validity. So we want scientific validity for science. Scientific evidence. That's validated experimentation. Give it us.
Come on, Spoonbender.
You didn't get the global memo in 2020. Science doesn't prove things.
Yeah, they were wrong. Pseudoscience that they thought they had didn't prove anything. Science absolutely proves things. It proves cause when dealing with natural phenomena. No? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
I assume still nothing from Dr. Becky?
Not yet.
No. Nothing from Dr. Becky. Research into...
Michelle Stone.
I could play that again, couldn't I? Do you want to hear Michelle?
Still researching her spam box, probably.
Is Michelle Thaler... what's her field? Anybody? Anybody know what
She's
Michelle
an
Thaler is?
astrophysicist,
We'll hear from her. Let's
science
hear from her.
science communicator, astrophysicist, works for NASA.
Perfect. Let's hear what she's got to say.
Michelle Thaler, NASA scientist and communicator.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
I felt that last night. It made me laugh for 40 minutes straight.
I've already played it twice.
That thing was just brilliant. Like a shining gem.
I played it on the pre-show too.
I don't know what's more stupid.
Priceless.
Saying it with such confidence as well, like there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
Astrophysicists, you can't beat them, eh? Just full of comedic gold.
I think it deserves one more playback.
Michelle Thaler, NASA scientist and communicator.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
Hey, Chocolate.
Bro, don't ever go to the ground and pick up a rock and throw it because you're throwing your cousins.
Hey, Chocolate, I was mentioning...
It's like the Stardust one, isn't it? Like we're all made up of stardust or whatever they say as well. Like we were all made up of everything. And...
Yeah, we were born in stars. That's what they claim. We were born in the heart of a dying star as the metals fused.
I have a cousin named Rocco.
Hey, Chocolate. That was a good one, Neil. Chocolate, I was saying in the pre-show that you had mentioned that this lady has said some other whoppers. Do you recall those?
I think Einstein would agree, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, after in a different clip when she says we're complicated rocks, she also says we're a chemical reaction that became so complex it developed consciousness.
Right, like Einstein.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Get it?
There was another one you had mentioned that she said, I think, about
I mean,
anatomy.
she says so much dumb shit. The anatomy.
Yeah, something about
What did
sex. Something about sex, she said, that was weird.
With her?
It takes more faith to believe that.
Nah. Well, she does say she did say weird shit like, oh, I
and we more like, and we, but then think about it, and we more.
She's like a weirdo, man. Like a first grade weirdo.
Well, if you have a pet rock next to you, did you sleep with your cousin?
Let's move on. Let's move on. No. Right, let's move on.
Yeah, Ken Hovind wasn't kidding when he said that evolutionists believe that they came from rocks back in the early 2000s.
I do remember one that I heard yesterday. She said, about 13 billion years ago when we were all hydrogen, you know that? We could take a picture of that.
You know when we go swimming in the ocean, are you swimming with your ancestors, are you? Okay, you're swimming in your dead relatives.
But if we were all hydrogen, we would now be all venting off into the outer space.
Oh, yes, indeed. We'd be
How
filling
did
the
we get
available
over
volume.
here?
Right. I'm just going to do a quick shout-outs. Shout-out to Unitox Femu. Mass causes mass attract mass. Earth is globe. Very good. No, not at all. But yes, they do assert that, indeed. Also, Unicorn Laser Eyes. It says, gives a whole new meaning to don't throw stones. Right on. Thank you very much for the super chat, Unitox Femu and Unicorn Laser Eyes. Really appreciate the support. Let's move on.
It suddenly makes losing a stone sound really grim. Also,
any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there, shining bright in a very clear blue sky.
I
How romantic. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Nope.
I don't know if you're going to get through housekeeping after that Michelle Thaler clip. Can you play it one more time?
It is great.
Michelle Thaler, NASA scientist and communicator.
I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
It never gets old.
It's a reach.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Anybody? An actual answer?
You can use a bit of trigonometry.
Yeah, but you have to actually establish either a location or a literal size first before you can even be assured to use triangulation in that fashion.
Oh, kind of just assume Venus is the same size as a presupposed spherical Earth, like Christian Huygens did to give them the distance to the sun and everything else, based on Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion. Kind of just assume that, Arwin.
Well, you could, but that would technically not be confirmation of either the size or the distance.
Yeah, but I can
it would
say
just
it is.
be an assumption.
Yeah, just say it is. I just don't mention I've assumed Venus is the same size as an Earth that we've presumed is a sphere that you can't measure because you can't derive R because you can't see the geometric horizon. I'll just assume all that stuff and never mention it. That'll be alright, right? Won't it? That's what they do.
I suppose.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you're just going to be stuck in the math that way, you know, without any actual empirical side to the evidence for your claims. It's not going to work.
Math is reality. Red Rhetoric, 2016. Not going to challenge me on that. Anybody?
No,
here
you know the argument's better than the Globers do, and the fact that all this presupposing you've brought to light is so true.
As no one's challenging me on it, math isn't reality; it's
Nope.
abstract. Physics deals with the physical. Maths deals with abstractions.
Well, math could be somebody's reality.
It is a lot of
only
people's
because
reality.
they refuse to get their mind into the real reality. So subjectively, it could be reality. But that's as far as it goes.
You drug references to rocks in the chat going past. Less of it, please. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
Nope, none.
Black Swan debunked it.
Yep.
Go through the Black Swan. Maybe leave it another week before we start going through it again. Shout out to Alexander for the unicorn. Woo woo woo! Really appreciate it.
Any side of any Globers that want to come and debate?
Been sitting on the ground.
Seems like they've disappeared with the
Didn't I
horizon.
hear QE go against some baller in the arena who supposedly tried to disprove the Black Swan yesterday? Didn't I?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah,
No, I
it
didn't
was.
know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it was totally insane. Like, he basically didn't even address the actual argument.
Did he not claim
What
infraction?
Ask QE.
was
He
his
got
name?
pretty-
Do you remember?
He got pretty pissed off. So.
Was his name like Smooth Brain or something?
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah,
that.
that was him, yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a clown. Yeah.
A clown.
Hey, you were in there too, by the way, Chocolate. I heard you.
So you know, Chocolate, you were there too.
But you're probably on about
Yes, I
RC MC or something like that.
I think
And
you
he ended
were
up
in
saying
there,
he ended up saying Magnetic West, and we all fucking
Yeah.
we laughed at him for a good half an hour. It was hilarious.
Magnetic West. Like,
Yeah.
That was hysterical.
Correct.
That sounds like a great movie
Magnetic
title.
West. What?
RC Meisty
correct.
declared something about Magnetic West.
Yep. Hilarious.
That Mick West's nickname for
And he
himself.
teaches his students this.
They call me Magnetic West.
He was like, he was constantly going, do you want True West or Magnetic West? QE, do you want Magnetic West or True West? And everyone just started pissing himself laughing. After saying Magnetic West and True West for like 5 minutes, he then backtracked and said, I didn't say Magnetic West. And then obviously it was all recorded. So we all uploaded the whole the video and watched it over, and everyone was just pissing themselves for a good another half an hour. He got absolutely terrorised. He did last night.
I don't understand that bit of the mentality. So you assert something. There's been loads of examples of it recently, where they'll assert something quite doggedly in some instances, and then a few minutes later deny even saying it. I just don't understand why they don't appreciate that. Number one, we're not thick. Number two, we're not deaf. Number three, it's being recorded. Number four, in a lot of instances, it's being broadcast to hundreds of people. But yet they think that they can get away with just saying, I didn't say that. In other examples, it's written down, right? That's why QE writes down. When we're going through a hypothesis with people, that's why he writes it down. Because they'll literally just change what they've said moments later.
Yeah. And that's why it's like it's threatening, because I remember when I was talking to him and I was trying to trying to go on about gravity and acceleration, and he was like getting me to say stuff and then to hold me to what I'm saying, and you just feel like you feel trapped when you're talking to him. But that's the point, is that you need to be held accountable for what you say. You need to know what you're talking about, and you need to, stand on the ground that you're claiming. If you're claiming it's gravity, then well, let's go through it then. If it's true, then we'll find out.
Sometimes, Tommy, I could kiss you, right? You're brilliant. So what you're saying is, when you were under attack for making your spurious claims that weren't necessarily that well researched, you felt trapped because you were held to task on the words you used. Is that pretty much a good synopsis?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Oh,
exactly
music
how I felt,
to my ears. Thank you, Tommy. It's made my day, mate. Not because of you personally, because of the implications. Yeah. So I'm not laughing at you or maniacally smirking at your words in terms of you personally. It's more the overarching implication of what you've just disclosed to us publicly. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but when you're on the other side of it, you do feel like you find a problem with the person. But when if you're mature enough to say like, "Oh, I made a mistake, I need to come back strong and better," then you need to concede that you can't prove something, or you may not have. You need to be held accountable for what you're saying, and that's the. If you're going to talk about real science and what you can prove and what you can't prove, you need to be accountable for what you say. We need to be very sure of the definitions, and we need to get to the truth. And if it's true, then what's there to be afraid of? You know what I mean?
Oh, check out Conspiracy Cat's interview with Haunted House for the things that you can concern yourself with. You can be all sorts of concerned about whether or not people will come to get you because you've exposed the lie that you've told yourself. There's all sorts of paranoid delusions that you can fill your brain with. Check out Conspiracy Cat's interview with Haunted House if you want a few more.
Oh, and don't forget Unorthodox.
How Unorthodox loves to project his concerns about what might happen to him onto us, doesn't he? Aren't you concerned that the CIA might come and haul you away? No, but now we know you are. Moving on. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed, of course, spherical Earth?
None whatsoever.
We just need a radius for that.
In the core of the minds of Globers, there's a burning cognitive dissonance that's going on.
P waves, S waves.
Neutrinos. I actually think of myself as a very complicated rock. I am made of things like iron and copper and manganese. When you sit down on a mountainside and you're there with a rock, those are your cousins too.
Oh, thanks. That's not really evidence. Not really evidence of a molten iron core.
I'm so glad I found that. Oh my god.
No, the molten iron core is kind of my cousin.
Jeez.
What else haven't we covered? Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Gem Panda has an issue with that.
I bet he does.
Speaking of gas, speaking of that, they say we are made out of star stuff. Remember Neil deGrasse Tyson? So we're cousins of the rocks, but the sun is our second cousin twice removed.
Yeah, it's all one happy inbred family, basically, isn't it?
The only problem with this position is that all your cousins are much bolder than you are.
Stardust is our grandparents.
Oh my god!
What's that water? We're made up of separate water. Is water our brothers and sisters? Rocks our cousins.
You're taking it on the ragged edge.
Liquid lives
Since
matter.
we're on gas, since we're on gas pressure, Nathan, I posted in Master B YouTube reference the show in chat 960 live and after show. So I found it. I've got the minute marks there where Zanuck says gas goes down, boom, boom. Since we're talking about gas pressure.
This in Master
Thank
B?
you, YouTube. Yeah. YouTube
59.
Posted in chat.
Okay, I've got it. I'll get it.
This is definitely the one.
Find the timestamp. Just give me a couple of seconds. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, I met with my cousins the other day, but it was a rocky start.
Fucking hell. That did just about caught that at the end. I've got a really good argument that recorded that I could play of me and Jem Panda talking about gas pressure about a container, and he tries to reverse
somehow or another a vacuum will suck your eyes out of your socket, but it won't suck the air off out of the atmosphere.
Right.
What's that, Paul? So say, or is that chocolate? What's that? You said that air will suck the eyes out of your head. What?
That's what you said.
Isn't that what you?
I was being tongue in cheek about that. Yeah, if there's differential pressure, the inside pressure of your body will be pushing the eyes out of your head.
Well, I'm going to tell the
so differential pressure.
Oh God.
Differential pressure will take the eyes out of my socket, but it won't pull the air away from the earth.
Correct.
That's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas, which is trying to expand in all directions, would fill that space instantaneously. No sky vacuum. That's what debunks it. Gas law.
The gas law, it works for a container. The container you're talking about, that may be true, where you change the volume and the pressure go up, you change the temperature, the pressure go up or down. That's a different set of conditions than...
That's Boyle's law. Yeah, that's not just gas law, that's Boyle's law specifically.
And Boyle's law as well.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Boyle's law, are we?
Are you going to tell us again, Zanuck, how the Earth is mostly a closed system?
Air pressing down on itself
is it
all the way down
closed,
to the surface.
or is it...
He's just reverted to circle jerk, pressing down, he says. He's ignoring, head in the sand time from Zanuck, the fact that gas expands in all directions. He just has to circle jerk back to, it's pressing down, there's stuff above it, the vacuum presses down on it from the top. No, it doesn't, that's also been undone here. But it seems this circle jerking asshole just has to parrot off the nonsense again.
So Nathan, it doesn't go in all directions, it goes less...
Yeah, it fucking does. That's what gas does. It expands in all directions. Don't start your sentence with gas does not expand in all directions. Yes, it does. You are retarded. Yes, it does. You are wrong. You are stupid.
Go ahead.
You are stupid. Gas absolutely does expand in all directions. You were held over a barrel by Paul only 3 minutes earlier, asking if the weight of the water would stay at the bottom of the vacuum, and it does not. It would evaporate and expand in all directions to fill the available volume.
Can I ask you a question on that, Nathan? Can I ask you a question on that?
So
have I missed it? Have I missed it or something? 10th, or was it already? Is that the bit you wanted?
I gave you the end timestamp. Do you see it?
59. Oh, I started at the wrong place. I thought I started at the end. I thought we were listening to it for a fair while. 56.
Still good.
Sorry.
Yes,
you just want to hear him say gas go down, go boom boom, right?
Yeah, go start at the beginning, and we know what happens after where you started it.
I would like to see what it would say about the
Zanuck, can you show me where, after you remove the air from the vacuum chamber, where water will pull because of its weight at the bottom of the vacuum chamber? Can you show that to me? That'd be great.
That's what all gas particles will. They'll go down in a vacuum.
That's incorrect. That's That's all I need. Gas goes down in a vacuum, does it? Yeah, okay. I think that's all we need.
Because you've created a pump. When you pump all the air out and you're inside of a vacuum, right? You create a pressure differential, and that pressure inside that vacuum presses down on the water, which releases all the energy out of the water, which why it freezes and boils. So you're changing the you're changing the atmosphere or the air inside it, right? By creating a pressure, and then you're going, oh look, the gas molecules are on the floor because of gravity. No, it's because of the pressure that you've put inside the vacuum, you idiot. It's nothing to do with gravity at all.
Hold on, Tommy. No, gas doesn't go down in a vacuum.
Do you know, like when they put the helium balloon inside of a vacuum and it goes down to the surface because they sucked all the air out, and by doing that they've created a pressure differential.
No,
it was in a balloon.
In a balloon.
But there's no gas in it.
Yeah,
in a balloon.
But that's what he's trying to argue. He's trying to say that the gas molecules go to the bottom of a vacuum, right? That's what he said.
Yeah, but they don't. But for the fact that in that example that you're giving with the helium balloon that's inside a vacuum and then you slowly remove the pressure, what happens is there's less pressure as they pump it out on the balloon. So the balloon's going to expand because the helium inside it's going to create greater pressure as a differential as you remove the pressure that's on the outside skin of the balloon. So it gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that will happen. Why is it getting bigger? Because it's trying to expand in all directions and there's less force stopping it in the form of a solid barrier, the balloon. But once the pressure is beyond the capability of the balloon to contain the helium, it expands into the next available volume of a container. So it's expanding into the balloon. So let's forget the vacuum chamber for a minute, Tommy. In the helium balloon, the container the helium's in, is the helium at the bottom of the balloon?
No, it's still in all directions, and it's still pushing out.
It's filled the entirety of the balloon, then. So it's filled the whole balloon. Yeah. It's not like deflated at the top and full at the bottom.
Yeah.
So it's filled the availability of volume. It's expanded in all directions. It's pressing on all the walls of the container. It's expanded to fill the space, and the space in that example is the helium balloon that it's in. Until that pops, and then it'll do the same thing in the vacuum chamber. Just expand in all directions and fill the availability of space.
Okay, yeah, that's what I got wrong because I'm on about the actual balloon rather than just the gas inside of it. All right. Yeah, so Zanix, you're wrong again. So they do expand in all directions, even when you contain them and try to weigh them and try to say they've got different weight. They're still going in all directions inside them containers. So you can never demonstrate gas not going in all directions. You cannot. Gas and gravity don't. There's nothing there. Gravity's a myth. You've been lied to. Get it in your head.
That's from about a year ago, just by the way. He's not here.
Is he not here? Is he not?
No. I'm glad that my desk is of such a high quality that it could convince you he was, though. I'm glad of that. I'm just going to read out another quick super chat from Alexander. Hold on one second. Aren't we all made of stardust? No, just so sorry, Alexander, but thank you for asking. What's with the rockets now? Double question mark. I don't know. Don't take the stardust from me. Wink face. Okay, I won't. Thank you for the super chat, Alexander.
So did you all hear the ISS is leaking again?
You're really quiet, Flat. So one more time. Go, Flat. Sorry, go. Go, Flat. Sorry.
He said something about the ISS leaking again.
Oh, sorry, I was trying to unlock my phone. Keep putting the wrong pin. I said, did you guys hear that the ISS is leaking again?
We covered it before you joined in the pre-show, unless it was you that brought it up, and that's why you're bringing it up now. So their concern would be based on the fact that if there's a hole, the gas is going to escape, fill the availability of volume.
But they just put their thumb in.
What happens if you have a leak?
The gas would fill the
space.
Then
you have a leak.
Put your thumb in it.
Just for the sake of this example. So if you imagine on screen now, you got Superman, right? Just for the sake of this example, imagine that instead of it being Superman, it's the ISS. So that's just our vantage point, looking down on the ISS as it's in space. So that's pretty accurate, actually, wouldn't you say? Let's just see if I can get it a bit more. Wouldn't you say that's about the sort of roughly what you'd see from the ISS, give or take? So you can. All I'm saying is it's a reasonable analogy to say, right, let's pretend for a second that instead of Superman, it's the ISS. Well, if your Superman-shaped ISS has got a leak in it, then it's got to worry that its gas that's inside Superman's belly is going to escape into this vacuum here. That's what they're worried about, right? But yet, you look at this horizon, obviously curved because it's presupposed to be a sphere, and that's what they're going to be showing you. That's a high pressure gas right there, and that's a vacuum right there. So all the stuff beneath him, no concern whatsoever that this high pressure gas is going to escape to this claimed to be sky vacuum. No. But the ISS, well, obviously, if the gas is surrounded by this vacuum and there's a hole, it's going to all get out. But the clouds and shit, that they can happily survive next to the vacuum. It's no bother. We've got a gradient. The gradient keeps it all here.
Makes sense.
No, it doesn't. It's total bollocks, Neil.
To be honest, Superman seems more real than the ISS. Thank you.
I think once you get your head around the possibility of it being faked and orchestrated, then it's easy to see how they can do it.
Possibility, without question, Tommy. The claim of an ISS, the light in the sky, being what they say on TV with their pictures of men on high wire, is absolutely unequivocally fake because they claim it's in a sky vacuum, and that's a violation of natural law. Automatically debunking any claim that they say has taken place in this fake place. Doesn't matter what they claim they're doing, they're in a fake place. Like if I say, yeah, I've got the cure for cancer, I left it in Narnia.
Something that you can never confirm, and something that you can never go and see.
You can confirm
that's what you're saying.
No, we've got video from Narnia. You can't go through the wardrobe. You're not young enough or youthful looking enough. I can, because I look youthful.
But there's something they've put up there, though, isn't there? There's something we can see, and I think that's kind of one of the convincing things for people to still believe all the bullshit they're pushing out there. But I personally speculate that it's quantum locking or something, because the temperature would get colder as you get higher, and that quantum locking seems to work on magnetic fields and temperature. So that's my kind of like theory or idea.
God, you're gonna get a proper pasting if you come in and talk about quantum locking and say it's your theory. What's quantum locking, Tommy?
I've seen some videos on it online where they have like a metal base, and then they have like a very cold piece of metal over the top, and somehow it has some sort of like frictionless motion where it seems to levitate off over the surface of something.
Okay, and what's that got to do with the price of peas?
Well, obviously that people can use telescopes and look up in the sky and actually see things up there. So when they're seeing things up there, obviously it doesn't mean that there's people floating around in there doing experiments. It just means that like maybe they've put something up there to kind of sell the lie even more, so that people can look up with their like telescopes and see something and go, oh look, they must be telling the truth. We can see it. Look, so maybe there's some sort of technology that they've got a hold of that works on probably the same principles of quantum locking, where it seems to move and it seems to take the sort of non-aerodynamic shape that moves at a high velocity, and that kind of confirms people. That kind of confirms the lie for people, if you know what I mean, because we see something, but it doesn't mean that it definitely has people in it all floating around doing experiments. Just something to sell the lie even more. Do you know what I mean? To keep people thinking that NASA are up there doing something.
Okay, what the thing you can actually observe, the light in the sky called the ISS. What makes you think that you would need to fake that with something physical up there? Why can't it just be like the other lights in the sky?
That's a good point. I think just because I've watched some videos of people taking pictures of it and it having some sort of, I don't know, it looks like it has some sort of physical properties, but you can't tell because it's just too far away. But you're right, it could be a hologram, it could be anything. I wouldn't know. It's all speculation.
But we know that it's not men on high wire in a second law of thermodynamics violation. That doesn't mean use Arwin's words, you don't have to have a physical assumption bias that therefore you need to justify why there's what is actually just a light in the sky moving. Well, there's lots of lights in the sky moving, and they've assigned and attributed definitions and descriptions for all of them. How is this one any different? The fact that they've got a more elaborate stage show going on for it doesn't make it any more physical. Doesn't mean it's what they say, and it doesn't mean that you can suddenly come in with your quantum locking and your physical assumption bias, because that's going to get ripped a new one too, Tommy.
No, it's all speculation. It's not a claim. That's me just trying to think of a way that they could be having hold of some sort of technology that we don't quite know yet.
You're trying to muscle in on
So
Arwin's
kind of
bag here, Tommy. Right? We've got enough with Arwin, right? You don't need to do that.
I'm here too.
Yeah, we've already got an Arwin. he's doing a good job. All right, I'm going to do a couple of quick shout-outs. Right, shout-out to Rakia Life. Says, all my relatives are Rick Stars. Rick Stars? Anybody get that? Is that a typo?
Yeah, probably.
Maybe it's rock
Probably
stars.
meant to be rock stars.
Yeah, rock
Rock
stars.
stars, yeah.
Okay, thank you for the super chat.
There's
Though.
more
We do appreciate
ridiculousness about the
Anybody want to do some more Michelle Thaler?
it. I think 3 times
Yeah.
enough on one show.
Can't get that. No. Come on, man. The
Oh, no,
rock
come
star
on,
got
don't
me
put-
thinking of the Rolling Stones.
I want Tommy to adjust Jim Panda.
Look, we'll get. Maybe we'll come back to Michelle Thaler for a 4th time. Maybe. In the meantime, Alexander, thank you very much. If you have a leak, you just put your finger in the hole. When the hole looks like an album cover from the 90s, then yeah.
It's a complicated.
There's even more ridiculousness with the ISS.
But just technically, I was talking about a different Michelle Thaler quote.
Just hold on, just 1 sec. Say that again, Roscoe. I just caught the ISS.
There's even more ridiculousness with the ISS. Apparently, the area in the sky where the ISS is meant to be flying around, apparently they have random winds and thunderstorms.
Oh, yeah.
What?
It's akin to them saying that, they're suddenly having problems with drownings when they're out in the vacuum of space. A bit like if they're in the submersion tanks where they train. Just coincidence. But, in the same similar way, we'd say, oh, well, these things, satellites, not the ISS, are potentially just balloons. And, very much in our atmosphere. Not that you can use that word. My God. Globe programming, it dies hard. In the air. They're just in the air, these balloons. Therefore, they'd have a bit of weather. Right? Well, if we take Tommy's physical assumption bias, which I'm going to completely blame on him, and say that it's a physical thing flying around, well, there's a good chance it might encounter some weather, right? Not if it was in space, though. Of course, all the weather that's beneath it would be vacating very quickly past it into the sky vacuum if the sky was a vacuum, debunking its existence in the first instance. But they claim weather, do they? Oh no, a bit of rain.
Well, they claim it's also random. So, what about the spacewalks? That's a bit risky.
I don't think their heart rates get above 86.
I mean, I can play that argument if you want, between when Jem Panda goes on about QE's argument, if you want. If you want to hear
you can just give us the broad strokes.
Funny.
Did you say he's got an issue with gas pressure without a container? What's the issue?
Yeah. He's trying to reverse the burden of proof. He's trying to say that if you can't demonstrate that it's impossible, then you can't ask the question, how do you have a gas pressure without a container? And he tries to reverse the burden, and we argue for a good 10 minutes. But he starts off. I can play a bit to see if you like it or not.
If you ever find yourself in that situation, it's really easy to overcome with a slight upward inflection that gets ever higher. So you say, well, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And your reply in this instance from Jem Panda, well, how can you have gas pressure without a container, flat earther? And you go, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Debunking the sky vacuum. Exactly. And then they say, well, yeah, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And I reply, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Yeah, you can go on like that forever.
No, you have to prove my claim. No, you have to prove your claim. No, you have to prove my claim.
He was saying there's no way
he admits at one point, he goes, it's actually physically impossible to demonstrate gas pressure without a container. And I goes, exactly.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Jem Panda. No shit. So your sky vacuum, impossible then. Excellent. Shout out to Sean Tibbets for the thumbs up super sticker. Really appreciate your support.
That's exactly what I said. Welcome to Flat Earth.
It's impossible to demonstrate gas pressure without a container. I'd love to have that as a quote. That'd be nice to actually hear without it being paraphrased, the word for word. It's impossible to have gas pressure without a container from Jem Panda.
Yeah, I'll try and find it now. I'll try and find it. One sec.
Brilliant.
Jem Panda said that?
So it seems.
Wow. Welcome to Flat Earth, buddy.
He was claiming he can't falsify the claim.
Gas pressure stinky.
Well, while we're waiting, shall we listen to Michelle Thaler?
Oh, do we have to? Let's get a vote from the audience. Who wants to listen to Michelle
again? I put a different one. A different one is in Master B. It should be timestamped. I'm not sure how to timestamp in Skype, but it should be timestamped to 2:05. But if it's not, 205.
Okay.
Chocolate, is she the one that said it's not okay to
told me.
believe the Earth is flat?
Yes.
I knew it.
But so the idea that we were all just hydrogen 13 billion years ago, we can take a picture of that. That's not a theory.
Right.
We can take a picture of that. That's not a theory.
We get to take a picture of this.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah, I'll play it for you now. For you to listen to this one. The only way it's broken is because the fact that you're trying to say that we're near to a near perfect vacuum. You're the one who's stating that it's broken. You're the one who's stating that we live in a violation. We don't claim that. We're asking you that.
I've never stated that. Where we live, it complies with the laws of thermodynamics.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. But that's not the point. The point is the statement, you can't have gas pressure without a container, cannot be falsified. There's no way to falsify
that is our question. That's our question to the globe model. The globe model claims.
That's a problem, Brummy. It's a problem. Look, it's not, I'm not saying I can't do it. I'm not able to do it. I'm saying there's no logical possible way that it could be done.
Exactly.
There's
It's
no
not
possible
impossible.
way.
I just can't do it.
Oh, right. So this here sky vacuum then, that's just total nonsense then. It can't be done. You can't have a sky vacuum. It can't be done. It violates natural law, as Tommy pointed out. There's no way it can be done. The gas would fill the space. You can't have gas pressure without a container.
But he
Absolute
went full
checkmate.
retard. He didn't just say, I can't do it. He said, it's not that I can't do it. It's impossible to do. Wow, Jem.
Thanks, yeah. But nice that we know you know how impossible the sky vacuum is. It can't be done. But they claim they're in it, flying around in a presupposed orbit, right? Nah, it just can't be done. Ace.
Tommy, has Conspiracy Cats ever got to show you that demonstration yet?
What demonstration? His declaration was without the container there can be no pressure.
No, but then he turned
He
around and
put
asked
some, like,
Brummy.
he put some pictures of some
He told
satellites up
Brummy
in the
the real
sky.
question is how can you have pressurized gas without a container?
Oh, right. So, that's a very subtle adaptation. So rather than the upward inflection, it's the paraphrasing. How can you have gas pressure without a container? No. How can you have pressurized gas without a container?
But he was
How
going
can
to
you have
answer
beer? Whoa,
Remember
how
that
can you have
debate? They
lager?
never did.
Same thing, just semantical games. 2 hours I asked him that question for, and all the people that watched and all the people that commented on that video, none of them paid attention to the fact that he obfuscated and used every single trick in the book to just answer a simple question. You know what I mean? Because he knew that gravity is something that he can't prove, and it was something that I was gonna rip him to shreds on. So we tried to go to the other situation, or try to go around it every single which way he could, and I still answered him quite fairly well. So now when I do get to speak to him again, it's gonna be an all out war. I'm going in for the kill this time.
So Theo Megawerty is actually given a bit of advice on how to timestamp. So you just add to the share link $T and then the number in time. So he's just put an example 1, 2, 3, where the T is time in seconds. So that's how you timestamp something if you wanted to know. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to both Discord and G+ panels. My camera's failed again, so I can't stick... Oh, and there's another super chat. Probably no bad thing, my camera failed. Tommy is ace, says Retro Bill. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Retro Bill. And indeed, Tommy is ace. He just can't have Arwen's job. Another massive thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching on either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Massive thanks to all who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Michelle's telling Jim Panda about how the rocks are cousins, and Jim looks at her with a cold stare and says, "No fracking way."
Terrible. Is there anybody in the Discord capable of kicking everyone? Hold on one sec. Just one sec. Is there anybody in Discord capable of kicking everyone to the after show?
I'll try.
I don't know how
I'll
to do
move
it.
down there.
Is there any mods in there?
They could do it themselves, you know.
Okay. Move yourselves manually to the after show. That's where I'm going.
I could try to help out.
I've done it. Oh, there you go. Someone's done it. Thank you very much, whoever that was.
Back to the rocks. She's telling the truth. Sly and the Family Stone. That's a band.
Yes. But she's lost all her marbles when she says it.
You know what's great about that last quote was that she says, that the idea that we were get hydrogen or something 13 billion years ago, we can take a picture of that. That's not a theory, she says. And then maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds later, she says there's no such thing as the scientific method.
Hey, you could say all kinds of things about her, but at least she's got grit.
It's not bad. Not bad.
Oh,
that's
God.
very good.
I wasn't sure what I thought it was. Then I looked it up, and yes, similar pebble stones.
I think, Arwen, those words she uttered will bury him.
No, I like grit.
She might just put too much weight on you, Owen.
I'm sure
You know what? No wonder he's like. No wonder he's like.
Any
Globers? No wonder he's like talking to a
think
brick
we're
wall.
complicated rocks?
When you talk to Globers, it's like talking to a brick wall.
They're all just gravel under our feet.
These terrible puns.
Any complicated rocks? I mean, ballers in Discord that want to tell us how we're complicated rocks.
I got to give thumbs up to Arwen, man. He's getting it going here, and I took him for granted.
Took him for granite.
For granite.
Did you say took him for granite?
Yes, I like granite.
That's why Ted
Granite is awesome.
is the king of puns. That's why.
Hey, Brian.
Right there.
Granite is awesome because granite can never have been molten at any point, or it would not be granite.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everybody.
It's a core proof.
Hey, Brian.
Of the creation of Earth.
What about me? Where's my welcome?
Arwen, according to their rhetoric, granite is just slowed down. It's just got a larger. It's got a larger structure to it because it's slowed down in terms of its cooling. So it was, according to their rhetoric at least, molten at one stage for it to cool down and develop the large crystalline structure that forms granite.
Yeah, but that's impossible, though.
Well, so say you, but I'm just saying that's what they claim.
Why it is impossible is because there's proof for this. Polonium rings, specific radioactive particles in granite, which just show no, that could never have been there or formed or caused that to be if it was ever molten at any point. Yeah.
Is it a bit like the opposite of adamantium, where they have to keep it molten the whole time?
No, polonium is a radioactive isotope. And it degenerates, or half-lives, whatever you call it, really quickly. So if it would be in a hot, molten state of any sort, it will absolutely dissipate, and it could never cool down and then form the polonium rings. It's physically impossible. It has to instantly manifest as is, not molten.
Wow,
Otherwise, it could never have formed all that.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard.
I've heard.
I got that from Kent Hovind very long ago.
Kent Hovind? Ah, just to reject it out of hand, bloody fundy Christians.
Yeah, dude, the only real difference with him and Flat Earth is that he just thinks it's a ball in a container, not in, it's It just has to be a ball. Everything else is pretty good. It just has to be ball shaped. That's
He has
all.
great.
He thinks
has great
it's in a
arguments.
container?
He
I think so.
annihilates creationism, right? But at the same time, if he believes he's on a ball, that's got its roots in the Big Bang. That's how the ball was formed. So
No,
you
but
can't
he
really
doesn't
hold both.
go with that though.
Yeah, it's frustrating with
He's
Ken
just
Hobart.
holding on to the spherical shape of it, probably for good reasons too.
He came out of jail and was immediately on a flat Earth vibe. So in 2015 or was it 14? I forget. I lose track. But you had Tiger Dan 936 or whatever his name was, batting for Ken Hovind, who was in jail, I believe, at the time. And then as soon as he came out, he went full bore against flat Earth immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, who knows? He might have had an early release under specific conditions that he would go against flat Earth.
The Men in Black visited him.
Oh, you mean like they took him in the back room and they said, see,
It's part of his parole.
Look at here. You destroyed evolution. We're not going to let you take away the whole ball.
Yeah.
It's part of his parole conditions.
Dude, just look why he was arrested, how that all happened. Like, they really came after him because he was getting in everybody's face.
Yeah,
even in the 90s.
Yeah, but think about it. Owen's right. The guy's a smart guy. How can he just dismiss flat Earth just like that?
It had nothing to do with that. He's dodging tax, or so they allege. Well, he got locked up for it. So.
Yeah, exactly. A very minor thing, and he got the full swing of it.
I don't know if dodging tax is a minor thing. He got locked up for it, Arwin.
Destroying evolution. Pretty well.
Keeping the rock theme going, maybe he came out a bit jaded.
Oh, God, no more.
It'll never beat the day of beer puns.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that's never going to be topped. The beer pun day. It's like 2.5 straight minutes of beer puns.
It's Friday, Nathan. Loosen up.
No,
it's Friday. Everybody go outside and say hello to a rock. It could be your cousin.
Can I really throw it all around and just remind everybody that technically, according to the Bible, it's kind of correct because we used to be clay. Ha 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 ha.
Always right.
You didn't think of that, did you?
Made out of the dust of the earth.
Yes. Yeah, the elements.
Yeah, but you take it with a grain of salt because we know the backstory to her rhetoric. So when she's saying that, we know what she means. She's talking about supernovas creating all of the heavy elements and that being blasted out into the solar system to eventually coalesce by gravitational accretion, and by way of luck, chance, happenstance, whatever you want to call it, a ball of lightning comes down and life begins from all of these fundamental elements just by chance. It's just total bollocks.
You know that a salt mineral also could be considered a rock, right?
I was going to say.
That's a very sentimental thought, Darwin.
God.
That's a good one.
I'm sorry.
I think we need to drop it.
I know what type of rock are ball earthers. Remember, there's three types. There's igneous, there's sedimentary, and there's metamorphic rock, right? Which type of rock are ball earthers?
Sedimentary.
Metamorphic for sure. They're like
ignorant.
They never stay in shape. They constantly change everything.
Instead of igneous, they're ignorant rocks. By the way,
Riley, did you
I
hear
wanted to
how?
join because I wanted to tell you guys what I got Professor Phil Bell to admit. He admitted in chat, I've got it, I've sent it in Ballbusters. Mathematics is not a substitute for experiment. He admitted it. And Planck did a lot of both in abundance. We practically owe solar electricity to Einstein and Planck, who were colleagues. So what? He's admitted that mathematics is not a substitute for experiment.
Popped it up on the screen for the audience who are listening on Sunday, just so you know.
So we all need to cite those words back to him because that's what they do with the gas pressure point. They can't demonstrate it. They can only calculate it, or they can make predictions about it, or they can talk about it, but they can't demonstrate it. And that's the problem.
What does he think the geometry is? Hold on. What does he think geometry is then? It's just mathematics. So no substitute for experiment. So you might as well say we've got no science.
Yeah, that's why I'm pointing it out so that we can ram it down his throat. We need to use it, and we need to use it against other ball earthers
Hold
that
on,
do
he's
anything
just
to
sent
do
me a
with
message.
maths.
He says,
But unless
hold
he
on,
took the word
he's replied
experiment
already.
very liberally.
He's actually replied. He says, I've got a very nice Mercedes.
You're joking. Did he really say that?
Yeah.
What a wanker. Fucking hell.
Hey, he sets that satellite. He's responsible for moving that. He gets paid lots of money for that.
Yeah, that's the same fallacy. He appeals to his earnings. So his car is just an extension of that. His penis. I mean, his argument. Which is to say that when he asserts that he's getting lots of money and therefore can afford a good car, why would his claims that are based in heliocentrism be wrong? I'm getting paid a lot of money to say this. That's what he's asserting.
And he
Yeah,
also,
that's what I hear.
he also
Do the people at CNN say that too?
Well, wait a minute. I said TV preachers get paid a lot too. So what does that say?
Yeah, CNN gets
TV
paid a lot.
So-
They can't be
somebody
wrong.
was trying to say something, I think. In Discord, maybe?
Go, Discord, go.
I could be wrong.
It might have been me, Chocolate. I said TV preachers get paid a lot of money too. What does that say?
It says,
Anybody hearing me?
praise be. Smash the
Can you hear
super chat.
I guess not.
we can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, it's appeal. I detailed this on several shows, Anthony. We've even given it a name. Appeal to Mercedes fallacy. I loved your reaction though.
You're right. If that's the only thing that he's got as a counter about his Mercedes, that's basically an admission. It's an embedded confession because he's got fuck all. That's really what he's saying.
Right.
Yeah, I've got
The
nothing in the
CNN
argument.
anchor also has a Mercedes, I think.
But yeah, I've got nothing in the argument. But look at my shiny Mercedes. I've got lots. Very valuable. Oh yeah. What about gas pressure without a container? You got
Neil's got a Mercedes.
that? We've gone over this too. That's so unfair.
My Mercedes is limping.
Yeah, Phil Bell's Mercedes is a nice Mercedes.
White as well, apparently.
You what? Sorry?
It's white as well, apparently.
A white Mercedes AMG. Lovely. I'm sure it's beautiful. I'm actually very envious. I love cars. I'd love to drive an AMG. So, you know, from that point of view, if that's what you're trying to poke at, my desire to have a much nicer car than I do, then kudos. If that's your aim, is that your aim?
Where's your demonstration of gas pressure, though?
Yeah, that's my point.
Is it a newer
Nathan,
Mercedes, though? Is it a
Nathan,
newer version?
you want to drive a Mercedes? Jump
Check it out.
February.
Everyone else's attention's pricked up. Hold on, is this a new Mercedes? So, did you say a Mercedes? Ooh.
No. But if it's a new Mercedes, they're nothing like the old Mercedes. You know, Mercedes from mid 20th century are like indestructible, unerodable, almost entropy-free monsters that are very heavy. By the way,
That's
the newer
true.
Mercedes aren't like that anymore. They
True to
just
an
break
extent.
down like every prefab
Why are we
car
talking-
these days.
Are we talking about cars?
They've become
Right.
iPhones. So, you know, they're disposable now. You have them, you keep them for the lease period, you then trade them in. So when I was a rep, the cars that I had were very expensive Audis, and they fell to bits after 100,000 miles, even though they were maintained beautifully by me, polished all the time. It didn't matter. They fell to pieces. And by the time the warranty was up, I was like, I wouldn't want to own this car. And I gave it back gladly. You know, it was like, yeah, take the keys, give me the next new one. But they were...
The best thing is to lease.
Yeah, lease, exactly. So by the time the lease is up, you give it back. And then you don't have to
Get
worry
in the
about the fact that it's a piece of shit made of plastic and it's going to fall to pieces.
Guys,
Yeah,
I just want
it's
to say
junk
something.
though. You know, it creates a lot of waste. They should, if you really love cars, you should get an old Mercedes and then work on it yourself, and you'll have that car for life. You could even give it to your grandchildren eventually.
Untrue. How old are you talking, Owen?
Yeah, it's
80 years old?
Yeah, this
Something
is
like
a rose-tinted glasses way of viewing old cars. There is some truth to what you're saying. So if you've got a Merc from the 80s and somebody kept it beautifully, yeah, it's like much thicker steel. Everything's over-engineered, but it's still old. So, you know, entropy's a bitch.
Well, with some things, but some things can be replaced, and you still have a fantastic car. That'll not, the majority of it isn't just going to wear down and break, and the plastic's going to erode and all that. No. If you just take decent care of it, it'll last several lifetimes. And yeah, of course, parts will have to be replaced, and the engine at some point probably will have to as well. But
several lifetimes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, Arwin. What you're saying is there's older cars that reached a point probably around the year 2000 where they became so complicated that it's no longer worth repairing, and that's been amplified in the last 20 years 10 times over. So now we're at the point where every bit of the car is controlled by a computer. So the suspension on a modern car is all computer controlled. It's got various different settings for comfort or sport. Well, what do you think is going to happen when that breaks? It's going to cost a shitload of money to repair, and people don't want to do it. So the car diminishes massively in value. You know, if you've got 20-zone climate control and a 12-zone stereo system and glass that dims and things like that, that's all complicated technology that will break. Whereas your average old Merc from the 80s, you're lucky if you had an AM/FM radio in it.
Yeah. So you're saying if you're a millionaire,
and always update those cars, get newer things in there, that like a newer stereo system and all that, of course. But the main frame and the standard systems are all made to last, and that was what was so good about them.
So if you're a millionaire, you have no worries because you could just fix things. But if you're a guy like me,
if you got time for that,
you're screwed.
Most millionaires don't have that much time to constantly fix cars.
Can I ask Riley a question?
Go can, but clearly,
did you hear?
What do you do?
Jim
clearly,
Panda.
Hold on, Chocolate.
Yeah.
Clearly, Neil wants to express his grievances in a bit more detail, and he's being cut off quite a lot. So, do you want to just moan a bit more, Neil?
No,
I don't care about this guy and his car, man.
Yeah, I don't know. Chocolate's right.
This is making me want to throw up.
Come on, Jim Panda's important, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Neil. Right, I've been overruled by Chocolate. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Hang on, I feel for Neil.
Tough.
Stop fucking rumpusing.
Tough luck. Chocolate spoken.
Hold on. Let me give one thing before you go.
What is going on here, man?
Hold on. One thing.
They're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
One thing after your one thing.
Done.
Just let him
I
have
guess
his...
I gotta eat that, right?
Come on,
damn it, guys!
Neil's going to keep going until he does, so it's going to be constant rumpusing unless we just let him.
Hello there.
Go ahead, Neil. I'll follow you.
Mercedes is almost gone. I put a down payment on something, and I'm not going to say until I get it.
Okay. And
Hold the presses.
Let's not...
Jesus, is that it? You put a down payment on a car.
I was going to support my friend Neil here and say, you know, when your car has problems, your stomach hurts, and you know, being a Mercedes, he's suffering the bends.
Chocolate, please say this.
You're reverting back.
Take the rock,
All right. Can I just ask Riley? Did you hear Jim Panda?
I did. It's horrendous. Wait, basically, I interpreted Jim Panda's comment as Jem's not actually a troll getting paid to do this. He genuinely believes it because he recognizes that it's impossible to do the thing that we're asking him to demonstrate. But that's an admission, right? That shows that the guy's just dumb.
Yeah.
Go on, what was your question?
But like, what he's trying to do is say that he's trying to reverse that burden. He's trying to reverse that burden onto the people asking the question, how do you have gas pressure vac container? Because we're not the ones that making the claim that we do have gas pressure vac container. You do. So if you think it's possible, the burden's on you to prove it with physical demonstration. Yeah. And now he realizes he cannot physically demonstrate it. It's actually impossible. Exactly. He's trying to reverse that burden onto us with some fucking Jedi mind trick.
Exactly. That's why.
But he's already made it clear. He's already made it clear. He doesn't care about evidence. He just chooses to believe it. Like, I mean, he said that.
Right, guys. I want to tell you guys. I want to tell you guys. So just give me a couple of minutes to make a point here, right? Gas pressure, high pressure against low pressure, right? We know that it mixes. Like high pressure always goes to low pressure because it's just the way it is. Nobody knows why. Nobody's content. It's not contentious. We all accept that's what happens, right? Think about this. If you get a weight that weighs 500 tons, right? It's heavy as fuck, right? If you were able to lift that, you would need an equal and opposing force of 500 tons, right? But if you were able to lift it with a pressure differential and without having a lifting mechanism, just change the pressure above it, you can get that thing to lift. Guess what thing weighs greater than 500 tons that only needs 200 miles an hour on takeoff to get into the air, and it's caused by the Bernoulli effect, which is the low pressure above the wings caused by the horizontal velocity. The Airbus A380, its curbside weight when it's fully laden with full of fuel and loads of passengers is just under 600 tons. It needs just 200 miles an hour of runway speed to lift that 500 tons without having a hoist above it. So 200 miles an hour with a change in differential over the wings caused by the velocity, that's the Bernoulli effect, and that's high pressure going to low pressure, and it lifts the plane up because of relative density disequilibrium. You're creating that differential with velocity. But think about that, 500 tons, just under 600 tons, and you only need 200 miles an hour of linear velocity to be able to get it to lift without having a hoist. How could you lift that without having... You couldn't lift that with a crane very easily, could you? But you can with a pressure differential.
I know it's a big number, but is that really all it weighs?
600 tons. Yeah, you try lifting that though with a crane. That's not easy to do.
Have you ever seen one? They're absolutely
the big fat ugly thing, like a Hayabusa, aren't they? Big fat ugly things.
Massive, absolutely enormous.
Because I used to work with the Airbus A320s, and the A380s are so much bigger.
Yeah, so
that's warm up weight.
So
600 tons, guys, just 200 miles an hour takeoff speed, and then that 600-ton chunk of metal is being pushed into the sky because of the Bernoulli effect caused by the pressure differential. Now, you try telling me that force that's pushing that plane into the sky, call it buoyancy if you wish, but the reality is it's the low differential. That is powerful. It can lift the whole fucking plane up. That's impressive.
We should create a new force. We should create a new force because, like, I think, like what Nathan was saying earlier, when you put a balloon in the vacuum, the pressure on the back, the helium balloon expands, and that's why apparently when it goes into the atmosphere, that the helium balloon expands and pops as well. But when you got that pressure differential, there's a force there, and now can't we subscribe that to the bending space time or something? Because we created a force. There's an actual force on the balloon, isn't there? We made them. The entropy want to expand so much that we've created another force.
Well, you can just calculate it, Tommy.
What's going on?
It says it's only not even 2 tons. I just looked it up.
Boyle's law, right?
500 pounds.
What's it called?
Boyle's law is describing the amount of pressure that's going to be exerted on the walls of the container based on how tightly compacted something is within the container. Well, in the case of the balloon example, how tightly compacted it is in the container.
No, that's not right. Boyle's law is the expression of temperature over pressure. It's the relationship between the two. As the temperature increases, the pressure increases. As the temperature drops, the pressure drops. That's what Boyle's law is.
Boyle's law also contains the volume of container.
Oh, it might do. Forgive me, I might have spoke out of turn there. I just say when it says Boyle's law, I think hot and cold, pressure and less pressure. That's how I remember it.
Where'd you get 6 tons, though?
Anyway, let me just
600 tons.
Anyway, let me just get to the end of my explanation for.
I looked it up. I typed in A380 curbside weight, and I typed in takeoff speed 170 knots, which is about 200 miles an hour. And if you think about it, 600 tons, English tons, not US tons. Let me just see what it is for US tons. It's about the same, but it's 632 US tons. So you can get a chunk of metal that weighs 600 tons. Just with angular speed, or not angular speed, lateral velocity to lift into the sky or to be pushed into the sky from below by applying the Bernoulli principle. And that's creating a low pressure above the wing that the high pressure below pushes it into. I mean, I know there's flaps and ailerons and all that shit. There's other things that influence it. But the point is that pressure differential is what keeps it in the sky. That's incredible. That's how strong it is, that differential.
So what you're saying, that like space differential should be ripping the whole atmosphere off as well?
Well, whatever the differential is above the wing, let's just say it's 14.7 below, and then let's say it drops down to 3. I don't know what that. I'm just plucking that number out the sky, random. Yeah. Pardon the pun. But if that differential is 14.7 compared to 3, then that pressure differential is what pushes the plane up. Right, they call it buoyancy, but it's the Bernoulli effect, right?
But the whole point of the conversation, right, is for you to try and say something about gas pressure next to low pressure, right? Is that where you go with this whole thing? That the amount of force that pressure differentials have?
Well, this has actually been asserted by Globers before. I've heard both Brenda and Zanuck talk about how the pressure differential with an airplane wing proves gas pressure without a container, apparently.
I've heard them
Does-
say that too.
Does that follow?
No.
Yeah, I've heard them say that as well.
No, because where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place?
Yeah, that's usually what we ask them.
Anthony, that's 1,264,000 pounds, 632 US tons.
That's a huge bitch.
That's why when I point that out in the context of a plane, and the main thing that gets it into the sky or off the ground is the upwards thrust that they'd like to reference gravity in with the egg. It's actually that pressure differential. Now, if you look at how much mass or salt that I poured into that to get that egg to move, it wasn't that much, but it moved and then stopped. That's the other bit. It stopped, and that's to do with the amount of mass that goes into it. But that also shows that it is the mass that's doing it. Now, regardless of whether you accept Einstein or not, obviously we don't. Mass does play a role in this somehow, but he's just changed the effect. He says the cause is the uneven distribution of mass. Well, me pouring the salt in is the uneven distribution of mass. It's all heading below the thing, but it's all unevenly distributed. And it did cause an acceleration, but he says that's the effect of the curvature of space-time. Well, what if it was literally the uneven distribution of mass caused a pressure differential, which causes displacement? Maybe that's what he should have been saying. But
I'm a bit lost. I'm a bit lost.
Say again.
I think because you understand it better well, and you're saying it so intuitively. I don't think everyone's following. I'm not personally. I can't speak for everyone else, but I can't seem to follow with what.
I bet you are following it perfectly. He's not even fucking
here.
I
mean, I'm just talking. I can only talk for myself. Then you know what I mean. I can only speak for myself.
I reckon Chocolate's following it. I reckon you're the newest one. You're the newest gay in the village. That's what it is. You're just not up to speed yet. But everybody else, I think, gets this.
So are we all understood then? Anthony's point is that if you can just create a very small pressure differential and lift this massive weight, which comparatively I think it's very small when you think of 600 cars or like compact cars that are about a ton, right? And then if you've seen an A380, they're absolutely massive. So it just seems like not very much weight to me. But there we go, that's the side point. The point Anthony's making is if you can lift that amount of weight with a very small pressure differential, what do you think is going to happen if the sky is a enormous vacuum? 10 to the minus 17 torr. That's a huge difference. What's going to happen? Well, the gas in this picture is going to vacate into the vacuum if that black bit's claimed to be a vacuum. It just isn't. It can't be, or the gas would vacate. You don't need much of a pressure differential to lift vast weights. And in this case, we've got a huge differential, they claim.
And what I don't understand is why we don't have like constant, huge ass upstreams, upwinds.
Here we go.
We do.
Plane.
We do.
At cruising altitude of a plane, the pressure, the ambient pressure is only about 10% of what it usually is at sea level.
Yeah, and
how do we have any of that pressure?
Hold on, what's this? Just get to your point. What's your point? We should have updrafts. We do. It's called turbulence. It's also have a lot of
if the pressure differential and the Bernoulli effect on planes is evidence that like these pressures create huge forces, like they equalize, right? That's the underlying argument, right? Then I don't understand why this condition in the air around us.
No, the argument isn't that they're... Sorry, you're asserting that we argue that it... Did anybody at any stage in the show use the word equalise? No.
No.
Not once.
No, I inferred that.
Why?
This guy's too simple, though.
Hold on. Why?
Because otherwise it doesn't make sense that the Bernoulli effect exists, for example.
It's being forced. The plane's being forced down the runway, 200 miles an hour, to create the differential.
Yeah, but that differential, doesn't stay there like after the plane drove through, right?
No shit.
It's not like everywhere where
it's being pushed. The plane's being pushed.
It's going to be this differential where
do you know what the cruise speed?
Right?
Do you know what the cruise speed of that A380 is?
What's your point, guy in Discord?
Again, my point is, I asked the question very. From my point of view, very concise question.
God, you're not going to get
Tommy, shut up! Go ahead, my friend.
Okay, so what I don't understand is why there is a constant pressure differential in the air around us.
The gradient, you mean?
Why there's a very extreme
chemical cycle. It's
No, you're
powered by
asking
the
us-
sun, and it's a collective term for about 10 or 12 different cycles that you can Google for yourself. The main one being like the hydrological cycle, the evaporation of water. The compression ratio of the evaporation of water is something like 15,000 to 1. It's incredibly high. That all that gas pressure that's created over them, the biogeochemical cycles, all created at ground level, be it water or land, and there's lots of them, and it's all powered by the sun. Now, if we were living in a vacuum, all that gas would not create a gradient. It would just disperse into the vacuum immediately, and it would never form a gradient. That's why we ask, how do you have the gas pressure in the first place? Because we can explain it in the convection currents known as the biogeochemical cycle, but they only work inside a container because the gas pressure doesn't escape. You can't explain it without a container.
Hold on, just 1 second. So you've got an answer
that in the cycles, the gases need to be produced at the ground.
No, they need to be contained. Sorry, just let me get to the number.
But we're asking, why does the gradient not evaporate into space immediately the minute it's created? Because of the differential. We're at 14.7, right? And if a plane can be lifted that's 600 tons and it can be lifted or pushed into the sky from below just by velocity, and it creates that differential, then we know that that's able to do work. That differential can do work. We utilize it with planes. So we're asking, why does the pressure not fuck off into space straight away the moment it's created? It stays here. How?
Yeah, well, my question is like from the other side. Like, granted, that's a good question, but given that that pressure differentials do work, we don't observe them doing work constantly in a very noticeable way in the air around us.
Did you just say given that pressure differentials don't do work? Is that what you just said?
No, given that they do work, I don't understand why we don't observe it in the air around us.
Because we must be contained, otherwise we would observe it immediately, like doing work. It would fuck off, wouldn't it?
No, there is still a pressure. Like we have a pressure differential no matter what. Like we measure 10%.
But that's the point. You're jumping past that. We're asking you, how do we have the pressure differential? Because the gas can't. So when you pick up a bucket of what's it called, frozen ice, and it fills the bucket with like steam, but it's ice. The bucket's holding it, isn't it? And if you only had half a bucket full, it would be half a bucket. Well, we must be in a bucket of some kind because it pools at the bottom. It doesn't go all. It tapers off, doesn't it? It doesn't immediately disperse into the vacuum, which is what would happen if you have pressure next to a vacuum.
I'm not contesting your question. I'm asking another question.
Yeah, but you're jumping past the point. You're out the blocks before the gun's fired. You can't get out the blocks before the gun fire. Where does the pressure come from in the first place?
I'm not contesting your question. I'm asking another question.
Go on then. Re-ask your question and I'll re-answer it.
Okay, so with the example of planes and such, we know, okay, gas differentials, a massive amount of them, right? We also know we have a pressure differential from low altitudes to high altitudes. We have low pressures, very low pressures in very high altitudes, and relatively high pressures in low altitude. I think the work that this pressure differential would do should be much more noticeable. Like there should be a constant, all existing, all prevailing upstream.
It is very noticeable.
Everywhere.
We spend most of our time in the lower altitudes, but we can observe the change in pressure differential by climbing a mountain. That's why people climb Mount Everest and die.
The pressure differential is a given. We know that it's there.
It's not a given.
But what I don't understand is why it does not do.
Hold on, one at a time. So go ahead, Anthony.
It's not a prerequisite. Sorry, it's not a given. It's a consequence to something else.
Yes, it's
right?
measured. It's given. We know that it exists.
Hold on, just one at a time. You just need to let Anthony get to the end of his point. Try again, Anthony.
It's not a given. You're claiming it's a given.
It is.
We're saying no, it's not a
Mate,
given.
I'm not going to ask you a third time. My friend, you are going to shut up.
It's a
and
fact
Anthony's
that
gonna...
exists.
My friend.
It's a fact.
Shh, my friend.
We measure
You're
it.
getting very angry.
That's the start.
I'm not going to
We start that we know in hard altitudes there's low pressure and low altitude there's high pressure.
My friend, you're becoming intolerable. I'm going to ask for a third time, even though I said I wouldn't, for you to shut up while Anthony makes his point. Do not interrupt him again, you fundy. He's trying to make a point.
I will interject him.
No, I'm telling you that you're going to let him make his point.
Then
there is no point in starting out on a disagreement.
No, stop. Just let me make my point and then you respond. Let me speak, though. You're claiming that the gas pressure is a given, right? It's a fact. We're saying it's not a given. It might be factual. It does exist, but it's definitely not given. We're asking, how does that exist? That's what we want answering. We don't care about the calculations for the gradient or the pressures or whatever. We're acknowledging that it exists, but we're asking how. So it's not a given. We want to know, how does that exist?
Yeah, fair enough. As I said so many times, I'm not contesting that question. I'm just based on the explanation that's given for it. Like, you're asking the question and then you're attempting to answer it, right?
No, we're asking,
like,
how do you get the gas
And
pressure?
you're like, well, it has to be contained somehow, right?
Excellent. Has to be contained somehow. That's correct. Without the container, there can be no pressure. That's absolutely correct.
Understanding, I am having further questions.
I don't give a shit. Sky vacuum's fake. We've reached the point where you've conceded. You can't have gas pressure without a container. There must be some form of containment. Your Earth in a sky vacuum doesn't have containment. Therefore, this is the point where we debunk the sky vacuum. What, you've got questions? Well, first and foremost, let's welcome you to the flat Earth that you live on and the fake space that you don't have. And then you can concern yourself with the questions that you've got. Because, yeah, there's loads of questions when you figure out that we must have containment, as you've just conceded.
Maybe you can join us in asking the Globers how you can have gas pressure without a container, being that you just conceded that you need a container for gas pressure. Thanks, Master.
There goes that nervous laugh.
I did not concede that.
Yes, you absolutely did, you lying globehead scum. You conceded that you can't possibly have gas pressure without containment. Those were your words. They were recorded. You absolutely said it. You conceded, and it makes space fake. You also went on to say that based on the fact that you've conceded that you need containment, you had further questions.
You're talking bullshit. Sorry.
No, those were recorded. Not just bullshit, your words. I wasn't even talking. All I did was listen to your concession that debunked space.
No.
Yes, that's what happened, you fundy moron. It's been recorded. Deny it.
Been pointed towards.
Deny it some more so I can trim out your scummy lies.
I've been pointed towards.
Stutter for me, bitch. Deny that you said you don't need containment. Deny it.
What? I didn't...
Deny it for me, you scumbag lying bitch! You just said you didn't say that, you didn't concede that you need containment. It's been fucking recorded! Now I want you to lie more!
Okay, so I didn't say we don't need containment.
Yeah, we do need containment, that's right. You said we need containment. Now I want you to deny that which you have conceded. We need containment to have gas pressure. Now you're denying that?
Containment. Containment. Unequal container.
Yeah, we need a container. Yeah, we know. That's the concession that you're denying. So you've reiterated that we need containment. Welcome to Flat Earth. Your globe is in a sky vacuum. And according to you, we need containment.
Keep going, Headmaster. You're doing good.
Finished?
What, teabagging you? Anthony's ripped your argument to pieces. He's got you to concede we need containment, and you're asking me if I'm done. No, mate, stick a fork in yourself, you stupid idiot. Containment, yeah, we need it. Without the container, no pressure. Are you done?
Your end?
Are you done? With your sky vacuum belief?
Are you done?
With your sky vacuum belief, long time ago, mate, you seem to be getting there. Are you done with your sky vacuum belief?
When did I state my beliefs?
When you declared that you'd need containment.
I declared my belief.
Stutter for me, you little bitch. That's right. Then you denied it, and that's where I stepped in to call you a liar.
Well, I didn't deny it. I did.
Oh, you don't deny it?
Deny it.
You don't deny we need containment. You don't deny that.
I didn't deny it. I did deny a different statement, which I didn't make.
Oh, well, I'm asking if you deny that we require containment. Do you deny that?
No.
No? So we need containment. Bye-bye, sky vacuum. Earth has no containment.
We have.
Let him keep talking.
So, I just want to point out the fact that I came...
What, you think it's time to make a new point when we've obliterated this necessity to have containment that isn't existent in the heliocentric model? You think it's your time to move on? No, mate, your sky vacuum's fake. We'd like you to ponder on that rather than move on.
No, I didn't want to move on. I wanted to reiterate what happened here.
You conceded that you need containment. It's an antecedent consequent relationship that we literally point out daily, and it's typically come to what? Adverse people that say that that's not true. You haven't. You're on the globe side and you've agreed because it's fact. You need containment to have gas pressure.
You're assuming about my person.
No, I'm saying that typically people come here and oppose us when we say, without the container there can be no pressure. Well, that's actually a Conspiracy Cats quote. It's a fact also.
You talked about me, right? You did not.
Sorry, we don't give a shit about you. I don't even know your name. What we care about is you're a fundy who believes in a globe, but you understand implicitly, like Gem Panda, that you can't have gas pressure without a container. Like Conspiracy Cats and his quote, without the container there can be no pressure. Earth has no container. It's claimed above the gas pressure there's a sky vacuum. Not possible. You'd need containment to have the gas pressure, as conceded by you, the globe believer.
I did not claim any of that, and I'm not that believer, okay? Can you please stop slandering me?
So you understand we need gas to be in a container for it to be here on Earth?
What?
You understand then that we'd need containment to have gas pressure?
Yes.
Well, then that debunks the sky vacuum.
So?
Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to point out the fact that I was coming on here asking a question based on that agreement.
Well, yeah, we've got to the end of it, and the end is the concession that the sky vacuum isn't real.
You.
Sorry, what do you think you've got some cards here, mate? We don't care what you want. I don't care what you want. Literally.
Okay, I wanted to learn something.
You've learned something. The sky vacuum's fake. Therefore, every claim...
No, I didn't, because I came on here asking a question based on that agreement.
So what? You've learned the sky vacuum's not real, though.
Massively denied for that.
Sorry, you've learned the sky vacuum's not real.
By you for that.
What, sorry, why are you turning this into something personal?
That's what you did.
Mate, is this all you've got? Some concerns about how you've been personally treated? At a fundamental level, the world that you thought you lived in is different. You thought that space was real. It isn't.
Oh, God.
So now what? No longer moaning about your personal shit?
What I'm thinking and what I'm believing. What's your deal? Why do you throw so many red herrings? What's your deal?
Sorry, why do you think this is about you personally? I couldn't care less about you personally. Or your high-pitch inflection when you moan about how you've been treated and what we think of you personally. I don't care about you personally. Literally, I couldn't care less. However, the generalised Western world thinks the sky is a vacuum. It's absolutely absurd. And by your concession, you need a container. So therefore, you as an individual have learnt something here today. The sky is not a vacuum. Outer space is fake.
Just concede people.
So,
hopefully they don't start mocking YouTube since you debunked their claim.
Never stops. He just keeps going on and on. He's an idiot.
Yep. Who else is
like people in danger. You are one of the dumbest people I've ever spoken to on Discord, honestly. And I've spoken to a lot of people, but you are literally at the number one spot because you just like talking to a brick wall. You literally are from a rock, like that woman says. You are a fucking brick wall, mate.
Reasons. I have to admit that this sounds rather insulting.
I don't care what you got to say. Don't address me.
Flat Earth.
I'm literally zero interest in whatever you've got to say to me. I do not want to communicate with you. I will talk about you to you, but that's about it.
Why do reasons?
I do not want no
Why
information.
do you talk about me if you don't want to talk about me?
He just wants to focus on
Why
himself.
do you talk about me if you don't want to talk
We
about
don't care.
me?
We want to talk about the sky
Your voice
vacuum.
hurts my brain. Honestly, I'm emotionally hurt by listening to the dumbery that comes out of your lips.
Okay, then deafen reasons. Then deafen the channel because you know I'm
Dumbery.
speaking, right? You heard me, and you heard me entering a conversation. Therefore, you had the chance to not hear me.
I might throw one of my cousins at your head.
Who cares? Who cares? Space is fake. This is not important.
From Ed Masto, nobody claims that the geometric horizon.
Say again, Elijah?
I said, quote from Ed, nobody claims that the geometric horizon is a physical horizon. So, I mean...
Oh, they used to.
Yeah.
Oh, they used
No,
to. That's the thing
never.
that used to block boats. Back in the day.
And buildings.
Used to maybe 300 years ago.
No, I've had people come on my show in the last 4 years that have asserted Earth curve calculations and that they block things in the distance. So no, not 300 years ago. In my personal experience from fundies.
When you observe the geometric horizon.
Yeah, it is. It's saying there's a physical obstruction at the horizon. That's exactly what it's saying. That's what the horizon is asserted to be in the globe maths.
If the cause for something is that there is no other, that it excludes any other effect, and the geometric horizon is derived, assuming no refraction. Refraction, however, does happen. So the cause can still be the same. It's just influenced by another effect.
I see.
Which is neglected in the geometric horizon.
So it's basically, you're saying that the assertion of this non-physical geometric horizon is overcome by the assertion that you would make that
There's no such thing as non-physical geometric horizon.
So it is physical then.
Well, maybe the geometric horizon is always non-physical because it's a mathematical.
So non-physical then. So when you object to me describing and actually paraphrasing your argument as it being non-physical, you object and say there's no such thing as a non-physical horizon. Our fucking argument. So you're interrupting me paraphrasing back your argument with an objection about me using the word non-physical as being incorrect. You then go on to clarify that you actually do mean non-physical.
Oh my God, Nathan, you destroyed him.
Yeah.
He destroyed himself.
So non-physical, which is it? Is the horizon physical and capable of blocking things, or non-physical? Which is it?
Physical and capable.
Depends on what day.
Is the horizon physical? Is it a sphere edge?
Damn, this is.
I'm asking a question. Why don't I get an answer?
Answer the question.
Is the horizon physical?
No, it's a loaded question.
It's a simple yes or no answer.
It's a yes or no.
Is the horizon physical?
Like, the fact yes or no question that does not disprove it being a loaded question. Like, it can be as simple as you want it if the matter, the premise is met.
Oh, shut up. You can ask this as a yes or no question because it violates the law of non-contradiction to have both answers be simultaneously true. You can't be both physical and non-physical simultaneously. Therefore, it's perfectly legitimate for me to ask a yes or no question about this claim to be physical fucking sphere edge that you claim box boats and buildings with its physical physicality, right? I'm asking, is it physical, yes or no? Simple.
He muted himself.
He stuck his fingers in his ears.
This ain't a hard question.
No, my ears are fine.
Is it physical or not? It's not a difficult question. It's not like fucking. It's not a formula or nothing. It's just, is it physical or not?
We're talking about this on screen.
It's not physical.
For the audience. For the audience, this is what we're talking about. I am talking about the claim that Earth is a sphere and has, as depicted on screen, a physical sphere edge for a horizon. Now, that is the claim of the globe. This dick has said, no, not physical. And we go, what do you mean not physical? You claim it blocks boats and buildings. Now we're at the point where we get clarity. Is it physical or not?
Yeah.
Hello?
No.
Is the horizon a sphere edge or not?
Looks like the cat's got his tongue, mate.
Yeah, it's because he's absolutely screwed, because this question is paradoxical by nature. They can't have a measurement to a physical sphere edge, as is claimed, to be done physically by Al-Biruni if it's simultaneously being refracted as per his argument, i.e. non-physical. So it's a paradox he can't answer. It's the end of the globe assertion. And what's he going to do? He's going to sit there in silence. That's what he's going to do, as I absolutely annihilate this paradox. You can't be physical, blocking boats and buildings, and non-physical, refracted with an R base 7/6 terrestrial refraction derived from R. So no, mate. The reason your cat has got your tongue is because you cannot answer this. You can't have a physical, non-physical, geometric sphere edge, non-refracted, refracted horizon. It's a cluster screw of nonsense.
Wow.
Is that a nervous laugh?
Oh, you're good. Definitely a nervous laugh.
Funny.
He's so funny that he can't even answer yes or no. That's the funniest part. The joke is on you, mate. Yes or no? It's all you're asked. It's like 2 + 2. Oh, 2 + 2. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking spastic, mate. Go and fucking just go and have a lie down, okay?
Yeah, I'm lying. I'm laying down. Thank you for your consent.
Yeah, hold on to your globe.
So you've already debunked space and you've debunked the curvature of the Earth. So you want to go for 3 for 3?
No, Nathan, don't let
Is
him
your model
off the
there?
hook.
Is
Let him
the
answer
actual
the
model or
question.
just the imaginary model?
Literally, again, talking about my model as if I presented something.
Is your model there, but it's
Oh,
not there?
guys.
Is the horizon there, but not there?
Range,
Scratch
it's
this magic
sad.
master
Like,
don't track mass.
I'd hurt myself if I wasn't forcing
Oh,
myself.
you know that curvature that you can see but you can't see. You know that curvature that you can see when you're on the floor watching boats over the horizon, but you can't see it when you're in the air. You know that curvature. The curvature that is there,
Why
but
don't you
in there.
tell us what side of the fence you're on then? Since you didn't present the model.
Like,
where do you stand?
It's funny when you're presented with mental. it's so funny.
This is your curve, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, bro. Get it off your chest. Share your pain at night.
Yeah, share your
Go
pain.
ahead.
Like, yeah, project out
We
some
all
ad
heard
hoc.
it.
Went into a store and bought some curve.
Let's talk about gravity. You can see gravity, but you can't see. You can see gravity, but you can't
Oh,
see.
guys, you're so good. You're so funny.
You can see it, but you can't see gravity, yeah? Is gravity real? It's there, but it's not there.
Hold on, Tommy.
So you're not going to answer Nathan's question.
I just want Tommy to answer me.
Yes,
Sorry, Tommy, when you said, do you remember when you told us?
It's not worth it.
Tommy.
What's up, mate?
I don't know, just waiting for this guy who's triggered to calm down. Earlier today, you said that you felt how when you have the use of your own words put to you? How was it that you felt, did you say?
Oh, I felt trapped. Yeah, absolutely trapped. Like, because I felt accountable for the things that I was saying, and once you realise that what you're saying, you're actually going to be held accountable for, then you realise, shit, I'm trapped here. So you can't commit to something, because if you're making a statement to say, as if like it's non-physical, for example, now you have to argue a non-physical horizon. But then if he admits that it is physical, now he has to argue to a point of a physical horizon, and either way, he's fucked. Sorry about the swearing, by the way. But yeah, either way, he's got nowhere to go. It's trapped.
Absolutely.
So that would
why he's
explain the
giggling.
loaded. That would explain why he said it's a loaded question, because he felt trapped.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Trapping someone by
Funny,
only
right?
allowing
Shut up.
options.
Just answer the question or shut up. No one cares what you want to say about this situation. Literally. Yeah, that's it. Laugh, nervous laugh. That's what we want. I want to hear that
Nervous
cognitive
laugh,
dissonance. I want to hear
boy.
that mental breakdown right now that you're having. Yeah, that you realise your whole globe's
No,
just
that-
falling apart right now.
That's that laugh.
virtuality
Yeah,
globe.
thanks
That
for telling me
globe
what I
that you'll never
The
realized.
earth is flat.
Thank
You
you,
know that globe
thank
that
you
you'll
so
never see?
much. Can I call you later to ask you what I'm realizing again?
The spiraling.
Because
that
I'm not
invisible globe
sure
you've never
what's
seen.
going on in
Spiraling,
my
guys.
head.
That virtuality globe. You know that virtuality globe
yeah.
you've only seen on
Having a
pictures
meltdown.
on the internet. You know that imaginary globe you live on.
You guys are funny.
Well, go on then. Physical, non-physical. Answer.
Okay,
Finish off
so-
with Nathan. It was. Finish.
so here's
talk to
another-
Nathan. Don't talk to me. Talk to Nathan. Don't talk to me. I don't care. No one cares. You're either to answer it to physical or non-physical. Nathan's got you in a corner. Continue with your conversation since you're so smart. Teach us about your globe.
Here's another nugget of knowledge. Like cornering someone by only allowing certain options, which do not encompass all the options.
He
is
asked a
dishonest.
question.
That's how you ask loaded question, right?
No.
Is it physical or non-physical?
How is the claim of your globe a loaded question?
This is
Is
why it's
the
loaded,
globe not a physical horizon? Your curve of the Earth, isn't that a physical horizon?
It's physical.
If it's not, how is it blocking boats ever, or buildings,
It
or
does.
anything? It does,
It's physical.
but it's not physical.
Yes.
The cause is physical. The cause is physical. The fact is.
What's he saying?
You can differentiate between cause and effect.
He's mumbling.
Yeah, let me ask you another question. You know, mass attracts mass, right? The moon's got gravity, right? The Earth's got gravity, but the moon's going further away, isn't it? Because it is, but it isn't. It has. It just loads of things. You can see the curvature, but you can't see the curvature. You can see gravity, but you can't see gravity. It just goes on and on and on, round and around in your whole world. Cognitive dissonance everywhere you look. The sun and the moon the same size, but they're not the same size.
I'm still curious as to why the physicality of your horizon is a loaded question.
Me as well.
Since that's the actual globe argument.
You don't allow anything else than a yes or no question, which a yes or no answer, which is
All right. An
not
open
sufficient
question
to
for
explain the
science?
whole matter.
then? An open question? Just an essay or something?
What do you mean an open
closed system?
question? Is the horizon physical or not? How is that not a fair question?
Because it can't be answered.
Your claim.
Because it can't be answered
Maybe
by
an
Lopez.
alternative response to
I
physical.
already explained. I already explained how it's a loaded question, but never mind. You
I
don't
an open or
want
closed system?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just say you
you don't want to have an honest exchange. You don't want to have an honest exchange.
Answer the
of
question.
ideas.
Okay, let's just throw someone else. No, it's unfair. Hold on.
There's
Let me just try.
there's
Hold
no
on.
honest
Guy,
conversation to
dude.
be had on here.
Okay, we heard.
That's why
You don't
I'm
want to
not
take part.
having
It's
any
not fair.
honest conversation.
Okay, shut up.
That's just
We
it.
heard. Not fair. Okay, so remove yourself from the conversation like it's just the other guy did. If it's not fair, you don't need to take part. I'll just ask a couple of people on the panel a couple of questions if they're willing to take part. Whoever's making all that background noise in G+, please can you mute? Is it you, Arwin, or Chocolate? Chocolate. Right. Are ice creams physical? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are thoughts physical? Yes or no?
No, I'd say.
So it's a fairly reasonable question to ask if something's physical or not, and it can easily be answered if it is or isn't physical.
Yep.
So to ask about a model that asserts we've got a physical geometric sphere edge blocking boats and buildings with its physical nature, to ask our opponent on the side that asserts we're on a sphere whether or not that physical horizon they claim is physically blocking boats and buildings is physical or not, that's an unreasonable question. Yeah, it is when what's on screen debunked it. Black Swan, baby. Yeah, that's why we've got a stuttering, stuttering guy telling us how unfair it is to ask if it's physical or not. Because it ain't. But it needs to be if it's geometric and capable of being measured, which it isn't.
If he has an open answer to an open question that he wants, so what does he think the horizon is then, if he wants an open question?
Maybe he needs an open-closed question.
Oh, God. Good one.
It's a physical, non-physical horizon.
Right, but seriously, if he
Why
wants
don't
an
you
open
ask me?
question, so can you describe what you think the horizon is then, please? That's my open question.
The horizon is defined as the line where the sky and the ground appear to meet.
Appear
to meet, you say?
Hold on. A question.
Because the
Follow-up
sky
question.
and the ground do not actually meet. Like they do not
No, they only appear to. I understand that.
Sky, as in sky blue, is not like a.
Yeah, we heard. Thank
anyway,
you.
so.
We heard where the land and sky or sea appear to meet. They don't actually touch. They just appear to touch. Right? Fair enough. I've got a follow-up question.
The sky is not. The sky is not.
Don't want to drag this out, mate. I've got a question that follows it up.
Right.
If you can tolerate it.
Sky.
Yeah,
the sky
is
yeah,
I don't need this, you stupid dick.
That, right?
Are you stupid? I don't need this endless waffle about what fucking skies. Yeah, they appear to me. They don't actually. Thank you. It's a point where they appear to me. Great, thank you. Is the geometric horizon visible?
Geometric horizon, most of the time it should be visible.
So it should be.
With visible, I mean With visible, I mean. With visible, I mean the light can travel from the point that point to your eye. The light path is not blocked.
So you believe
and most of the time that should be the case.
You believe you can see a physical tangent point in the horizon. That is what you believe it is, a tangent point that is physical. So it is now physical.
No. The point where the physical horizon, the geometric horizon should be.
Should be.
Not necessarily.
Sorry, hold on. I'm confused. I'm confused. I need clarity. Stop talking.
Okay.
Stop talking. Should be. Sorry, where the geometric horizon should be. So it can't be seen because where it should be isn't what we see, correct? So it can't be seen, and where it should be isn't being seen, correct? So we don't see it.
The thing is, the geometric horizon and the horizon as I defined it.
Answer the question.
Are two different things.
Sorry, we only have one horizon, you stupid idiot. Do you think we have two horizons?
Yes. We observe one horizon. Yeah.
So we don't have two horizons then. So your last statement was moronic.
We have multiple
wow.
Yeah, the geometric horizon is not horizon though.
So the geometric horizon's not a horizon, so we don't see it. So the geometric horizon, who's in Discord rumpusing the shit out of me? Who's in Discord? Neil, mate.
Me.
Neil. Jesus wept.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, you're on. Neil, you can't sit in the G+ hangout off mute. Yeah? You can't do that. I've got no control over it. You've just destroyed this flow of conversation because all I'm hearing is background noise from you. It's okay. You don't need to reply. Just please be advised, don't sit on your open line on the G+ hangout. So, dude. So, this point, this apparent location where the sky appears to meet the ground, that's not the geometric horizon. That cannot be seen.
No. Seeing means light can travel from somewhere to the observer. That means that you can see it, right? And most of the time, you should be able to where the tangent point is, like where the geometric horizon is, should be able to see that.
Should be able to
visible.
So right? you appreciate that,
but it's not at the horizon.
So it's not a visible horizon then. So the geometric horizon's not.
No, the geometric horizon is not.
You seem to be interrupting me before I clarify what you've just said to us. Now I appreciate, because we've been detailed by Tommy, that me verbatim repeating back to you is going to be fucking painful because of the utter shit you're spouting. But it doesn't mean that when I try and paraphrase back to you what you've just said, you need to interrupt me, mate. Yeah? So we've clarified that the geometric horizon is not the position where the land or sea appears, that would be seeing it, to meet the sky. So the geometric horizon is not a horizon then.
It's not the horizon.
So why in the model that's labelled on screen and has been asserted here for a number of years, it's known as the heliocentric Earth curve calculator, why does it have a tangent point marked with the word horizon?
Because for many cases, like, not saying in general, but for many cases where you might be interested in something like that, the geometric horizon and the difference between the geometric horizon and the actual horizon that you observe is actually quite small. When you do low altitude observations, like observation with, very near the ground with a very small altitude difference, then you're maximizing the difference between those. The effects that make them different are maximized in that case, like hugely maximized. So, but as soon as you're observing an altitude difference of a couple of 100 feet, that difference is not so strong anymore.
Difference between what and what?
Almost negligible.
Difference between what and what?
Difference between the difference between the concept of a geometric horizon and where you observe the horizon.
But a horizon is the apparent position where the sky appears to meet the land or sea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that isn't a geometric horizon according to you because it cannot be seen.
That shouldn't be. Yeah.
So we can't see a geometric horizon then. So this marked with an X labelled horizon pointing the geometric model of an Earth curve asserted to be blocking things in the distance with a hidden value, that cannot be seen according to you.
You're kind of ignoring everything I just said.
No, I'm kind of repeating back to you what you just said, with an example that you said only gets claimed 300 years ago, and I pointed out correctly that has been claimed here for multitudes of years as a basis for a physical obstruction known as Earth curve that is claimed to be the horizon. A physical obstruction that you're telling us can't be seen and is not a horizon. That's what you have told us.
Okay, so what I've said, that's a repetition.
That's a stuttering bitch with his bitch model of a globe Earth being teabagged by me. You've said we can't see this geometric horizon. You've defined what a horizon is, an apparent position that we can see, and this, in this model of an Earth with a spherical shape, is not that, according to you.
You're ignoring my explanation towards it? To that?
Sorry, I just explained that according to you, the geometric horizon has been moved in position to the actual horizon that we see. Now, if that is the case, then the horizon that is geometric is not seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so therefore, the horizon marked with an X, labelled as a geometric horizon in Earth curve maths, according to you, cannot be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't see a geometric horizon. We don't have a physical obstruction. There is no Earth curve with an assumption of tangent points. You can't see it. Further to that, if you can't see it, how on God's green earth did Al-Biruni measure it?
Okay, so I responded to that.
You had responded to how Al-Biruni can measure something you have just told us cannot be seen. How did Al-Biruni measure? How did Al-Biruni measure that which you say cannot be seen?
Okay, I explained that already.
You explained already. I've only just brought up Al-Biruni. You can't have done. You're just lying. You haven't explained. I've only just asked the question based on you admitting you cannot see a geometric horizon. I'm asking, based on the fact you tell us we can't see a geometric horizon, how Al-Biruni measured the geometric horizon he can't see, according to you. You haven't answered. It's a new question. Don't obfuscate. Just answer me based on how you say we can't see it, how Al-Biruni measured it when he can't see it according to you.
Okay. Last time I had the mic for a couple of minutes to explain something.
Sorry, every time I've asked you this question, you've moaned about procedure. How did Al-Biruni measure something you say can't be seen?
Answer the damn question.
Last time I had...
Answer the question. We don't want to hear any color
blah,
commentaries about the discussion. Answer the question.
I'm about to answer the question.
Do it.
Oh, really? Like Rumpus
Last
in
time
20
I
minutes?
had the mic for a couple of minutes to explain something.
Answer the question.
You don't answer the question, immediately I'm going to mute your dumb ass.
How did Al-Biruni measure that which you say can't be seen?
Which answers that question.
Okay, go ahead.
Go back, hear it, you got your answer.
You haven't answered, I've only just asked.
I just got here. Go ahead and answer the question. Repeat the question to him, Nathan.
If you say the geometric horizon is not a position that can be seen and defined by you as a position where the land or sea meets the sky, how can Al-Biruni measure it?
By reducing the effects that make the apparent horizon different from the geometric horizon.
You told me that.
What?
You told me.
Yes, I did.
So you're muttering very quietly. Yes, you made it very clear. You defined what a horizon was, a position where the land or sea meets the sky. An apparent position, you made it very, very, very clear what apparent meant. So we understand that it's apparent.
You made it very clear.
Yeah, and then we clarified what a geometric horizon was. And it is not that. Not seen.
Yeah.
The position where it would be. Words like that. So we clarified that a geometric horizon is not seen by your definition of what a horizon is. Now I'm asking, based on you telling me it can't be seen, that would be a geometric horizon, how did Al-Biruni measure it?
And as I said, he reduces the effects that make the horizon the horizon different from the geometric horizon.
Yeah, I think he's trying to describe terrestrial
That's not
refraction.
an answer.
without
How can he
calling it
measure
that.
something he can't see?
How can he measure it? He can't see it.
I'm trying to think of
Alright,
an analogy
checking.
which might be more...
I don't need an analogy. I need to know how he measured it. Not how he made an analogy about measuring it. He's claimed to have actually measured it. And you're telling us he can't see it. The answer to this is very simple. If you claim he can't see it, he cannot measure it.
If I understand it correctly, he's trying to describe they measured the actual horizon and then calculated how much it evaded from the model and thereby established terrestrial refraction. I think he's kind of clumsily trying to explain that.
I didn't.
Aren't you?
No, I think you're putting words in his mouth. That's why I asked him to say it clearly and concisely. Do you want to say it again, mate, but make coherent sense? How did Biruni
What do you
measure the
want me to say
horizon
then?
if he can't see the actual horizon?
Okay. By close approximation to the actual horizon.
No, he's claimed to have actually measured it. No, that's not what's claimed. No, that's wrong. You don't understand the rhetoric. Stop. Hello? Stop. No, he didn't derive anything other than a measurement for where that horizon in physicality was and the dip angle thereof. So no, that's not correct. You don't understand what Al-Biruni has claimed to have done. He's claimed to have measured it, and he'd need to see it, wouldn't he? And you say he can't. So the answer is he can't measure it. So if you're going to therefore, as Arwin's put words in your mouth, use terrestrial refraction to move it, well, you'd need to measure it first to get R for your terrestrial refraction value.
Yeah.
He just said close approximation, though. That's not a definite...
so
that's wet finger work.
Let's take an example. Let's take an analogy.
Don't whistle past it. Don't whistle past it, please.
Let's see where he's going. Go ahead.
No, not an example. What actually is? How did he do it? How did he measure it? Not an example. Show us.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Just
But that's
concede
been
you don't know,
ignored.
man.
That explanation has been ignored continuously for like half an hour now. So I
No,
don't know
you
what
didn't
to
make
add to that.
Listen,
What, the explanation you didn't give to us? That one?
yeah, no, hang on. He did give it, but it was
No,
incoherent.
the one that I did
Babble.
give.
That's why I have
The
to
one that
say
I
it
did
again.
give and was ignored.
No, listen. You didn't give a coherent sentence. So I asked you to say it again. And Nathan, if you'd re-ask the question, try and give a concise answer because you were babbling. Nathan, ask the question again.
How can Al-Biruni measure a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon if you claim that it cannot be seen?
Crickets.
Yeah, I mean,
just concede, bro. It's painful.
Go reasons.
No close approximation.
Hold on.
No examples.
Hold on.
Just let him think about
evidence.
it and answer.
I'm not going to engage this anymore. I'm sorry.
Why not?
This is
It's because you're in the corner and you're losing.
We broke him.
Yeah, he's broke. He doesn't realise it. Or he's what he knows.
You know who you are, Masto? What you actually are is what does this have to do with the price of tea in China was a person? That's you.
No, don't divert from what just happened. Let's talk about this.
And now
He's
a person that
unable to
likes to talk.
Yeah,
about
it's a simple question. Everyone's
lot of
listening to it.
sense.
In the group and in the audience. It's a very simple question, deductively come to from your explanation. It's very simple. Just answer the question. If you can't answer the question, you lose.
I've been listening carefully. He said facts, but he never stated what facts were. Is that another word for your model?
When did I say facts? Can you give a little more context?
Yeah, when Nathan asked you the same question that he's repeated now at least 4 or 5 times, you said, well, the horizon we see, meaning the apparent, the one that you said we see, the facts that we put, the calculations that we put to that's how we come up with the geometric horizon. You worked it backwards. You reverse engineered the apparent horizon to find your geometric, but you're supposed to see the geometric. And what are you doing? Trying to match it to a model that doesn't exist?
It does. The model does exist.
Yeah, you're looking at it right now at 14 minutes after the hour. You see that green X? It says horizon. You're saying that doesn't, you can't see that. That's your model. What are you talking about? You making stuff up?
He's trying to reify the model.
You've already explained it.
It's been ignored. So.
Oh, it's been ignored, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty weak.
Has been ignored.
You haven't explained anything. I've been listening to you.
You
You haven't explained it.
You haven't
didn't answer the
expressed yourself coherently.
We all didn't understand
Fraser, you're not
it.
listening.
Explain it
You're
one
waiting
more
for a
time.
chance to talk.
Just one more time.
He's been
we
waiting
all
for a chance to
misunderstood
speak. Oh.
No,
We'll
I'm out.
concede.
Oh, no. Well,
Just explain it
bye
one last time.
Bye. Bye.
They'll never concede ever.
It's not that he can. It's not that he can concede. He's reached the point of paradox in his argument. He's explained at great length how it can't be seen, and you go, well, there's claimed to be a measurement made of it, so it needs to be seen. It's here in your model, marked with an X labelled horizon. It's claimed to block boats and buildings. You've just told us it can't be seen. Well, that means he's fucked. Where's he going to go?
Well, his rebuttal was, it's just an estimation. It's close enough.
Can I just point out that what he actually did was he stuttered and he stammered his way through some kind of incoherent psychobabble that a 5-year-old would do, claimed that was an answer and that we didn't understand or we just whistled past it. And basically, it didn't make any sense. And when given the opportunity to represent it, he chose to whinge about it. That's what's really just happened.
That's correct.
And of course,
that's
we could have stopped.
That's just par for the course
we
for
could have
this
stopped
that
this.
guy.
Of course, we could have stopped this a long time ago by just having him define the geometric horizon. Can you do that?
No, we don't understand his incomplete explanation. That's right. Because
we want the
Just point
definition
out,
of the
too,
geometric
we gave
horizon.
him
What is it?
every opportunity to answer. We gave him.
What is the geometric horizon, please?
It's the apparent position claimed by them where the sky appears to meet the land or sea.
It's not the full definition.
I was going to say that's not quite
Spear
right.
edge.
Yeah. It's the thing that boats go over in it. Isn't that the answer?
Right.
There you go. Can you read that?
Where is it?
Can you read that for us? Who is it? Did he run away?
I think he ran away.
Oh, goodness.
He's gone.
So, the geometric horizon, also called the local horizon, is the visible boundary between the Earth and sky. So, that's a law of identity violation if you said we can't see it. Because you're talking about
Sounds
something
like
else.
the definition of horizon.
Yep.
Yeah, and the horizon in the globe model.
How can we not see a horizon? Then it wouldn't be a horizon, then, would it?
Yeah, we took him through that just before you got here. He did define the horizon. We got him to define it, and he just defined it the way I defined it.
Hey, Nathan, before you finish this topic, let's go to Master B if you're finished. I got a quote from Danny Faulkner on what we were talking prior when this guy came on about gas pressure.
You're not going to cite
Great,
Danny
you go to
Faulkner.
Master
Like
B,
things
he's
like
going to
Danny
close the
Faulkner
show out.
cited Blue Mike, are you?
Hold on.
Just go to Master B.
I'm starting on pick any two spots in the air. Is that where I'm supposed to be?
No, it's you'll see it. It's in green. It's a quote I pasted from the article, which I also pasted.
Yeah, answersingenesis.org. Pick any two spots in the air. Yeah, I've got it up.
Okay, pick any two spots in the air with one directly above the other, and you will have an example of a vacuum, lower pressure in parentheses, coexisting with higher pressure with no barrier between or a container holding one back from the other.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's what my son does. Same thing.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's Danny Faulkner.
He's called. Yeah, low pressure is a vacuum now.
So what he's doing is addressing the gradient existence, but not the existence of the pressure in the first place.
Right.
Low pressure, very low. Very, very, very low, not just low, you know?
Look into my eyes. You'll be hypnotized. You live on a ball. We
Well,
can
he
violate
also-
laws of nature.
Yeah, a mile up is low pressure, but it's not a vacuum, though.
He once said that the air pressure above the airplane wing is a vacuum.
Yep.
Clutching
It's a
at straws.
differential.
Clutching at straws.
There was a guy who blew on his hand the other day and said gas pressure without a container.
It's clutching at straw man's.
That's like unorthodox who blows on the mic.
That's unorthodox.
Yep.
To be fair, Nathan, he's not really clutching at straws. Let me just correct that. What he's actually doing is demonstrating our point for us that when you have a differential, you can lift a fucking 600-ton plane with a little bit of a differential. Don't quite know how much of a differential, but you can definitely do it because they all do it. It's our point, that dude.
Clutching straw men.
Doesn't address the question. The question is, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Well, his example is to take an example that starts with gas pressure. You're like, oh, whoa. So you're going to start with gas pressure and then describe a difference in pressure between that gas pressure that's already existing in your example. No, well, that completely ignores the question. How can you have the gas pressure in the first place without a container?
I'm sorry, that can't be falsified.
Did you hear that, QE? He's disappeared. QE? Did you hear
Sorry,
Jem?
yeah, I'm still hearing the
Sorry about
conversation
that.
a lot as well, but it's just
Sorry
too
about
funny to listen to that guy just with cognitive dissonance and all over the gaff and just getting you to
Play it
constantly
again.
remind him of what he said and then backtracking on what he said, because it's always, you know what I always find as well, another common pattern. It's always like, oh, you don't understand what I'm saying? No, we understand what you're saying.
We got it.
Realize.
Tommy, we got it. We don't need a friggin' rehash color commentary of what just happened.
Yeah, well, you know, people need to understand the tricks that they use. On
Oh, they understand it. They got it. Yeah.
Well, I would like from you,
Go ahead,
Tommy.
Nathan. You asked me a question. I was on mute.
Yeah, it was directly referencing Tommy's interaction and chocolates for that matter with Gimp Panda. So he's basically conceded that there is no way of demonstrating gas pressure without a container.
But the beautiful thing is he doesn't realise he's conceded it. That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Come on, can we hear it again? It's worth it.
Can you play it
Go
again,
ahead.
Tommy?
Yeah.
Hopefully he's got it queued up.
Oh, one sec. Yeah, one sec. I want to play that Gem Panda thing.
Yeah. If we can hear it
One
again,
second.
that'd be great.
Everything works just fine until it disproves the ball, and then suddenly it's not real. Then it's not right
Yeah.
anymore, according to the ballers.
Second law of thermodynamics, wonderful. Well, your sky vacuum doesn't really comply with entropy. The second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth.
It's something that cannot be proven.
This one.
There's no way to
Because
prove
it's a violation, you spastic.
You're missing the point. It can't be falsified. You can't prove it to be true.
Oh my god, you cannot have.
Johnny, you're missing the point.
We've already talked about
No, you're
this.
missing the point.
No, you are, Rummy.
No,
Rummy,
you are.
Rummy.
This is so funny.
Listen, Dummy, you're missing the point.
You're an idiot, Robbie.
You're missing the point.
I don't. That's what. You can't. You can't. That's the truth. You can't have gas pressure.
Please listen. That's not what being said here.
I'm not arguing that I can't.
Doing this, Romy. There's no argument. There already
It comes
exists.
down a second.
It already exists. Put a pressure gauge on top of your head.
Put a pressure gauge on top of your head.
I'm not arguing that this is possible for me to do because you guys are right. I'm arguing that there is no possible way to test this conclusion to be true. There's no way for you to experiment to devise an experiment that says this statement is true. That is impossible, logically impossible. It's logically impossible to perform to perform such an experiment. There just isn't any possible experiment you could devise, because in your worldview, all gas is always contained all of the time.
See, I think your problem, Jim.
Yeah, you don't need an experiment. It's natural.
Hold on, Jeremy. Hold on, Jeremy. You spoke all over me. Now I'm going to talk. People are going to speak over me while I'm talking because apparently it's a fair forum. Now, look, the reason the question is formulated right is because the globe claims that it's on an open surface near to a near perfect vacuum, and the only thing that's holding down the gas is a thing called gravity. So we ask you the question: how do you have gas pressure without a container? You can't demonstrate it because it's actually impossible. You cannot show centrifugal force holding down gas molecules on an open surface near to a perfect vacuum. That's why we're asking you the question, because it's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics, for crying out loud.
But I'm not talking about a question. I didn't mention any questions. I mentioned the statement that you guys make, which is you can't have gas pressure without a container. You have no way to falsify that statement. There is no possible experiment that could show whether that is or is not true.
The question was asked progress, and now you're trying to reverse the burden of proof. The fact is, you've made a claim that we are living on an open surface, right? So we said, okay, if it's true that we live on an open surface, then demonstrate it, and you realise, shit, we can't demonstrate our fucking fairy tale.
I don't need to. You need to abandon the claim you can't have gas pressure without a container.
No, I don't. I don't have to all. No, I don't.
It's just
because if you're the one who's claiming that you do,
so who cares?
You're the one who's claiming that you do have a gas pressure without a container.
You might as well say God says you can't have a gas pressure.
You're the one who says that you have.
Can't prove that either.
You're the one who's making the claim. You're making the claim. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
I haven't made any claim. I'm specifically addressing your claim, the claim that you guys frequently make, which is you can't have gas pressure without a container. You say it, Jeremy says it, Chemo says it, Oakley says it, Quantum Eraser says it. You all say it. I'm not addressing a question or our inability to answer it. I'm addressing your claim, which cannot be falsified, and therefore is
you are delusional. Your claim is that you do have a gas pressure without a container. That's your claim.
Yes, you
I
can.
made any claim.
Yeah, it's right. That's the globe's claim. Oh my God, you're so blind.
You are so blind. How does the globe make claims? Who is the globe?
Well, it says, what was the globe? All right, let me ask you some questions.
Statements made by the globe become statements made by me. I haven't made any statements. I'm addressing your statement.
We're addressing your claim.
From me.
We're addressing your claim. Your claim.
I'm addressing your claim.
My claim is you can't just do that.
Your claim is
your claim.
You're so stupid. And you have no way of proving.
Do you live in a gas pressure? Do you live in a world that's not contained that has gas pressure? Yes or no?
I'm not talking about like is the globe. Does the globe live in a near perfect vacuum with gas pressure? Yes or no?
Joe,
again. Hang on. Again, Brummy.
Stop it.
Yeah, you can stop it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Hearing him spiral like that, absolutely amazing.
Spiraling, yeah.
Cognitive dissonance.
So why would we need to prove anything? It's natural law. You don't need an experiment to prove it.
That's what I was thinking.
You kept on rambling on like that.
You would if you claim that science actually proves that. Then yeah, you would need an experiment.
It's like arguing over why hot goes to cold. Well, no one argues over that because it's not contentious, right? But if they argue that, well, why does gas pressure go to low gas pressure? That's really a big problem because that then becomes contentious. But they don't question it with hot and cold. It's only with gas pressure to non-gas pressure.
Well, Zanuck had the answer. He had the trump card. He said, "Put a pressure gauge on the top of your head."
What?
What? That's what Zanuck said.
He also
Can you hear him?
Yeah, he did say that.
Wait, what?
Put a pressure gauge on top of your head.
Wait, but when I do that, do I turn the valve on or off?
He's in here right now. Let's ask him. Zanuck, put a pressure gauge on top of your head? What's up?
Zanuck, I see your
ahead.
examples
You can
just
put a
get
pressure
better and
gauge on
better,
top of
man.
your head. What's wrong with that?
Hold on a second. He's speaking.
Rotating hot tubs with.
Hold on a second. Let him defend this. Put a pressure gauge on top of your head. Go ahead, Zanuck. Floor's yours.
You can put a pressure sensor on top of your head and get the difference between that
Pressure
and-
gauge in your
Wow, that's amazing. Then the second law is false.
How's
Put a
that?
pressure gauge on top of your head.
How is the second law false? Talks about heat direction and efficiency.
Heat direction. Really? Can you have entropy change without a change in temperature or energy? Want to go through this again?
Yeah, let's go through it.
And hand your ass to you again. I'll tell you what. When you give me the $2,000 you owe me, we will. Other than that, shut the fuck up, Mr. Gauge on top of your head.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley or Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!